Welcome everybody to the LoRreport Tournament for Heart of the Huntress. My name is Rory B. Alongside me today is Gems while we break down this upper 8 bracket. The show has been going on all day, but we're here now to commentate the final fight going on. Gems, how are you today?
I am doing fantastic. It's been only a couple of days since the expansion dropped, and it is a fantastic time to throw on a tournament because it gives people a chance to experiment and test in preparation for future upcoming opens. So it's a fantastic opportunity for a lot of players.
Yeah, I believe the open is 2 weeks from today, if I'm not wrong. So a lot of people can get some very good prep time into that. Now, Gems, if you could summarize today's meta in just 2 words, do you think you could? Because I'm quite confident.
Siren Song.
Siren Song, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking as well. Basically, if you haven't had the displeasure of playing against this deck or have been happy to get the free wins that this card has provided, it's a little crazy. Mostly paired with Zilani.
Yeah, it is the Zilani list. However, there are a few other sort of iterations sort of dotted about. The Poro one hasn't done that well, unfortunately. It was sort of people testing that. It's not that great. But the other sort of one that's been running around is the Teemo Jinx version of it, which is like a more aggro based one, which could potentially do really well.
Yes, a lot of strong 1-drops and some good face hitting damage. Some discard fodder on that. Now, Siren Song, I think people sussed it out on the day one that this card was pretty nuts. So some tech has been developed to answer it. We were talking before the show went live about how elites are actually very good into it because they can basically outstack these husk on your opponent's board. And some people are running Silence and Suppress to get rid of the Zilani as well.
Yeah, Sunburst as well is probably the key card in that, in sort of the mirrors. A lot of players are running. Some are running the Tellstone, some aren't. There's a lot of like options there. In general, the deck is also kind of slow. If you're running a more aggro-based lineup, you can just start the beatdown before they even get to play Siren Song. A lot of the times, the deck kind of just passes the first 2 to 3 turns and then plays Siren Song. So if you're playing a more aggressive deck, you can, in theory, get the hop on it. But again, some of them run defensive options like the Youngling. Some healing options in there, some run guiding touches. Again, there's a lot of little different choices, and lists are still being finalized, I guess, or there's testing and there's still refinement to happen before we settle down on what is like the de facto list.
Yeah, and you mentioned aggro. I did see a very dirty Drizzoth list that got published either yesterday or 2 days ago, which was pure P&Z Ionia elusive spam, because no one who's really running Evelyn and Targon is playing any interaction at all outside of Hate Spike, and they're just getting away with ridiculous ball.
Yeah, I mean, the other option is rolling like Challenger on a Husk or like another elusive of your own. But again, trying to rely on that is a very unpredictable. Yeah, it's risky. Yeah, and it can get punished quite easily.
Now, we're just getting ready to get into game. I think decklist coming. How are you feeling about the newest expansion? Because I've looked through some of the deck lists. We've seen a little bit of Nidalee, but we haven't seen any Poro King. Or I think there was 2 Nico decks that I spotted. So how are you feeling about the overall power level of the champions after this?
So Nidalee had quite a lot of people experimenting with tons of different lists overall, kind of different interesting lists. There was like some people running sort of a mid-range ambush Demacia sort of Akshan Severe-esque list. There was some running more of the overwhelm lists, and then there's obviously some running like other Nico lists. But again, I don't think they've been working as well. And we're going to be looking at some of our first deck list here. And this is just a Nora Viego, just a control list. Probably trying to pry and beat some of these Siren Song lists here with just Vengeance, right?
Yeah, it's really just using Vengeance or Crumble where you can, because Zilani obviously costs so much mana to play. They don't run Spell Shield, so she's quite easy to take down through this list. No Portal Scholar, but that's usually used in a more mid-rangey sense, whereas this deck is full on just stall for Viego to come.
Yeah, unfortunately though, the one thing is because a lot of those Evelyn Zolani decks run Sunburst, you can never really get Viego on the board.
There is that. Yeah, Nora is definitely a much more secure win con with your mists coming out, progressing her level up every time they spawn. It's really nice, and you can turbo Nora very fast in this.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be tough. The other option is obviously just ban the Evelyn one and aim to beat the other versions.
Yeah,
if people brought multiple, which is also very common. If they brought 3, you just ban the strongest version. And I think as long as they don't have another Zolani one, you're probably in a good spot here with all the removal options in this deck. Yeah, interesting to see what the other decks that have been brought by these players.
One I do want to point out. Here we go. Alawi Swain, 59% win rate on ladder. I know you don't always, or you shouldn't always go off win rate, but it seems really fitting for the meta because Alawi just allows you to go over the head of these much slower Evelyn decks, and you can really hit face early, which is so punishing slower matchups.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You kind of you control the early game, and then later on, you also have obviously your removal options with Disintegrate to deal with the big units, and try to get that win con with the Leviathan Swain combo.
And even if you don't have Disintegrate, if you pirouette the Zolani, and she can't get her first attack off, you're normally developing a massive board that can just outpower your opponents on your attack.
Yeah, completely. There's tons of good options for this deck to be able to survive.
Riptide Sermon's not a card we've seen much.
No,
I'd say since it got nerfed.
It's one of those cards that people keep trying to bring it back, and
I'm trying to make Sermon happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's very hit or miss, but there's obviously key turns where it can prove to be incredibly useful, especially if you've maybe already built a couple of tentacles, just to get that sort of big tentacle swinging with Alawi later on. Or if you pass the first couple of turns, potentially just having a nice clear on any sort of 3 HP style units. I mean, it's got its uses. It can help, but I think it's a bit weak right now.
Yeah, it feels like as a one-off, it's fine. Now, guys, Garen Kaiser is a deck that was made, I'd say last season it became pretty popular. Obviously, when Kaiser was first released, it was massive, but then she got nerfed, she went underground for a while. This is almost a prevailing deck, where it's pure about hit Kaiser on either turn 5 or turn 6 and try and blow out your opponents as fast as possible with multiple rallies.
Yeah, that's the thing. So this deck should, in theory, do quite well against other Siren Song lists because of Kaiser, right? So Kaiser can chip away a lot of the units. If Kaiser gets like a scout attack or scout plus overwhelm, you also have the options with Cataclysm as well. Garen, in the early stage, if it's dropped from 5, in theory, should be able to block quite a bit before the Siren Song gets a bit out of hand.
Sure. Yeah.
But not consistently. I would say that can be very hit or miss. But what you're really looking for, obviously, is that Kaiser slamming, as you mentioned, and then utilizing Cataclysm, utilizing your rallying potential to go for that big win con.
What I do like is this triple Rite of Negation to really shut down.
Don't want Siren Song. Siren Song at all.
The issue is you need something on your board, because if you're getting rid of a mana gem on turn 3, it's so hard to come back from that.
I don't think that's even the end of the world, because the opponent uses a whole turn on Siren Song that turn usually.
You're not wrong. Your big units hit a turn later, and that can really hurt you.
Yeah. But again, Kaiser doesn't necessarily always level on 5 anyway, and that's your win con anyway. So I guess losing that for a turn isn't necessarily the worst, as long as you can push your opponent back for a few more turns.
Definitely agree with that. So we've seen Strifes line up, 3 mid-range decks, and as we move on to Agogan, this is what we've been yammering about. If you haven't seen a deck list like it, it's Husk Spam. That's the best way of describing it, and just playing every Eve card under the sun.
Yeah, and this is going to be very scary because, as I said, there's different variations, and this one's running the Targonian Tailstones, which actually is a bit of a pain. That hush that comes out of the Targonian Tailstones is a bit of a pain for like the Kaiser deck. It's a bit of a pain for Viego decks as well, because you can silence like the snap vine or whatever. You can silence something. You can silence Nora if you need to. There's a few options, obviously, but mainly the Viego, right? You kind of just want to silence him.
Yeah, you need to delay him by a turn if you can, getting your board ready.
Well, it's more if you don't have Sunburst available, right? If you want to trade, you can silence and trade.
So last season, we saw the rise of Bilgewater Aatrox, which is a very similar deck using a lot of 1-drops. Previously, they were using Aatrox as weapons, but now they've got Siren Song to buff them up far more reliably, I'd argue, and overall it costs much less to give them across the board +1/+1 than equipping weapons every turn. Why would you think the Targon variant is stronger than this Aatrox variant? Is it just because of the healing and you have more outs?
It can depend. I guess you have better late game with the Zilani, right? So once you've run out of resources, Zilani is usually a wink on its own.
But Aatrox still runs Zilani because she's Darkin.
I guess, yeah. I mean, the obviously the big issue is getting Aatrox plus the level up on him. I mean, it's very close. It's very close. I'm not entirely sure.
To be honest, I asked you quite a loaded question because I was trying to delay as little time to talk about Fizz Samira as possible, because I really dislike this deck and I didn't want to really chat about it. We've all seen Fizz Samira. It dominated ladder for the last 3 months, and this version has no real variance, but it is going hard into Powder Pandemonium.
Yeah, so one of the things Fizz Samira changed happened after sort of the slight nerves. We kind of went more all in.
Yeah.
It started running more dashing dandies, as you can see here. And this one actually isn't as all in as what you would normally see, because there's a triple Inferno.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that as an option, but it does help, I guess, get to your win cons a bit quicker if you are able to slam it on 4, which again, there aren't many cards right now in the sort of the main Siren Song list that can stop the Inferno coming down outside of Sunburst.
Yeah.
So it's usually quite safe.
And that's your entire turn gone on 4 if you do Sunburst, because you use Siren Song the turn before.
Yeah, and that's honestly fine. The other option, obviously, you got what you really want is just your elusive spam late game. You kind of want your Fizz and you kind of want your other stuff.
Yes. Now this is a great thing. Ravenborn Tome has breathed new life into Annie Jin, and I love it.
So I've been seeing this on the ladder with something with people running the Ravenborn Tome, but I personally am not sold on it.
Okay.
I personally think it's a bit more of a high roll. You end up spending 2 mana on something you don't necessarily want to, because a lot of the time you're really playing stuff on curve, tapping out.
Yeah, definitely agree with
and if you're going for like the gym combo later on, a lot of decks can just see that and stop that before you're even able to get the sort of double up on the skills.
Yeah, it adds a lot more risk to the deck. I definitely agree with you. I'm surprised at seeing a 2 of the Witness, because in normal Annie Jin decks, that card is nowhere to be seen.
So that's kind of come in recently. There's a lot of these decks are running the Witness, because you have to remember this is standard.
Yes.
So there's a lot of good cards that this deck would love to run that it can't.
Very true, yep.
And that's kind of like, that and Tome are kind of like the flexi bots with whatever we have available right now for this deck.
This variant, also the Mana Soul Student, which is a lot more slow than a deck without it, where you're planning on playing your Mana Soul Student on 3 almost every time, and increases your chip damage almost infinitesimally. If you put in Ravenborn Tome onto it, it's just a backline monster.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the idea of, obviously this is a slower version than what you see in Eternal, but again, everything in Standard is
very true.
In general slower. It really depends on whether or not these the Kale Evelyn lists are running healing or not, whether we decide what we're going to ban as well. So I mean, Ogogon is running doesn't have to worry about too much the healing. Most likely, he's going to just ban the Nora Viego, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
just
I'd expect that.
anything with healing, and then just try and rush him down.
Also, Nora Viego has quite good answers into Fizz Samira. And Annie Jin at that, because they're running cards like the Quietus, 8 Spike.
High toss, there's loads, yeah.
Yeah, tons.
It's what I would most likely expect, because the two of the decks are obviously way more aggressive. Whereas Strife, again, might choose that the ban potentially.
I'd say Fizz Samira here. I'd
Yeah,
be very scared of getting run down early to a point where you can't recover.
Yeah, there is an option of that. Yeah, Fizz Samira and Annie Jin potentially too can run you down.
Annie Jin is a lot slow because to develop their board, they're always playing They're always playing units with skills to open, like Sunhawk. Free up your board, and that gives you opportunities to use Tentacle Slam on the more tanky units and set up for Disintegrate.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough choice. I think on the side of Gogon, it's most likely going to be the Viego list. On the other side, I think you are most likely correct, probably just the Fizz Samira. But it wouldn't surprise me if Strife just doesn't want to see the Siren Song.
I completely understand it, but it does feel like Strife has built this lineup to purely answer Siren Song.
Yeah.
So if you then ban it, it's a bit scratching my head.
It just could be like they just don't want to deal with it. Maybe it's been doing bad for them throughout the tournament.
Yeah, true.
We don't know.
Could be.
It could just
Very
be
fair point.
they could just hate it. The same could be said for Fizz Samira. You might just hate Powder Pandemonium.
Remember, Strife is 6-0 today. So they haven't
absolutely
been wiped out by a Siren Song lineup yet. As you predicted, Nora Viego off the board. And okay, Siren Song again being taken off.
Or he just doesn't want to deal with it, right?
Just doesn't want to deal with it.
Probably Fairs looking at the lineups might go, okay, I'm a bit fine into this Fizz Samira. They're running like Triple Inferno, whatever. I can probably stall a little bit more. Probably looking to target the Annie Jin, most likely.
Yeah. Also, that Rite of Negation in the Garen Kaiser deck is going to do so much work. One, to stop the Powder Pandemonium in the late game. All those Powder Monkeys, well, in general, you're spawning about 5 of them on board, so that's 5 to face that you're avoiding. And Ravenborn Tome Jin, if you can deny 8 skills, it's ridiculously powerful.
Yeah. But again, you have to hold on to that right, which is a bit.
Do. Yeah.
It's a bit of a risky play. A lot of time you probably just won't hold on to the right at all because you really just survive the early game and then hope to draw it later.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But either way, it's getting you out of some very nasty situations. I'm really interested to see how this Swain Alawi Mulligan goes. Because you're looking for your wide spells, and I don't believe Death's Grasp, Death's Hand it got rotated, right? Heal 2 and 1 to Nexus.
I honestly don't remember.
I believe it did get rotated. I'm pretty sure it did.
But yeah,
that card would be nuts in a Samira list, and I feel like we would have seen it by now.
Yeah, that deck in general just wants to grab early units and removal, right? And then just stabilize. As it's able to do that, it should be fine. The thing is, it obviously doesn't have any healing. So if it doesn't find that early game, all that early game chip damage, there's no. It allows these more aggressive decks to really push over the edge very quickly.
Oh yeah, so super stacks up. And I wouldn't be surprised if Agogon actually mulligans away an Inferno into the Swain Alawi deck and just goes full 1-drop, 2-drop aggro. Because you know the moment it's dropping, it's either getting disintegrated, or even if the Swain's on board, it can then get flocked by a second Swain in hand.
Most likely wants to find that Fizz. Fizz is just going to be a nightmare for these decks to deal with. It makes cards like Make It Rain really painful too. Because then you can have a play it if there's a Fizz on board.
Yeah, completely troll poles. All 3 targets hit by the Make It Rain.
And it's just like consistent 2 damage every turn, which will start to stack up very, very quickly.
All damage is good damage. So even if your 1-drop's hitting, if it hits 3 turns in a row, it's grand.
Yeah, what deck do you reckon these guys are going to go first? I feel like Strife is actually...
Strife's going Garen Kaiser. I don't think
it matters personally in this matchup.
I think it's just Demacia seems good. Like your early game tankier units are much stronger. Yep, did go for the Garen Kai'Sa first, and we're seeing the Fizz Samira in the matchup. What season are we in? Did we miss the start? Because these are identical decks from a month ago in the open. But as we get into the first game of the quarterfinals, Strife versus Ogogon, and looking at these initial hands, double Voidling for Strife must feel very good.
Not just double Voidling, but the Badger Bear is fantastic. Yeah, it's so difficult for Ogogon to deal with this. And Ogogon, again, doesn't have a fantastic opening hand here.
No,
very slow opening hand with the Inferno sitting there. Doesn't have any great activators either outside of that warning shot for Plunder. Most likely wants to save it for later. Yeah, this is not looking good. And obviously Strife, that's one of the other key cards here in this matchup. The Quicksand can just deal with any elusive span from the side of Ogogon should that be a problem. And
even the Overwhelm from Dashing Dandy, because most of your units have 1 HP until you hit that Evolve status.
That's not even a big problem with the Badger Bear.
No, not at all. Or I don't think, you need to do anything but just keep playing your units on curve here for Strife. As you've got a Fearsome blocker, you've got an Elusive blocker. Now Ogogon, a bit of a tricky situation. Used that only Plunder activator.
Did, however, manage to grab a fantastic option of that 1-cost spell from the Plunder.
Oh, it's the best.
This will at least allow a trade into the Badger Bear should that be a problem. And also, Spindle here going to give her information that there is a Quicksand available. Yeah, we don't know if I don't know if you necessarily do grab Quicksand. There's a chance for Void Blast. But
yeah, that's fair. But Quicksand will shut down the Kai'Sa for a turn, and a lot of your units have very low HP. So it will avoid her leveled up skill from killing them all.
Yeah, no, you have to go here for the Elixir of Wrath to remove this Badger Bear. It's going to be a pain for you later on.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you're right. Completely right. You have to remove it now. Otherwise, your Fizz can never attack. Your other elusives can never attack. Ogogon here, once again, not getting a good Plunder activator. All quite expensive cards in hand. But the Inferno will just happily drop on turn.
Yeah, this is still not fantastic for Ogogon. No. Good, because as you mentioned, there's no activators here. These Dandies are also pretty expensive. You need to somehow get this attack here. But the problem is, there's a Quicksand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, at least got... Oh, okay. We top deck to the Stylish Shop. Perfect here. That allows at least some activators and to start drawing. The only issue...
Ooh, good unit, though, to draw off the top.
While it is good, you're going to get something that's fleeting that you probably can't play now.
Yeah, and if that's Samira, it feels so bad.
If Powder, it's even worse.
Oh, it's so terrible. But has to develop the board here. Ogogon's feeling it.
Okay, Stylish Shot.
That's pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, and the thing is now obviously, that Strife tap down below Quicksand, you can get them back. That's huge turn here. Ogogon. Right. Really needed that.
Choosing to develop the combat cook there just for another point towards Evolved. I can't... Oh, I think Kai'Sa is 2 off Evolve here. Could be Voidling plus Kai'Sa.
Kai'Sa's leveling this turn because the quick attack will do it, yeah.
Then Strife does have that Cataclysm for next turn to answer a Samira if she's dropped. Or just do some good board-wide damage.
Kai'Sa comes down, we'll most likely level up here. Most likely going to throw the Overwhelm onto her. There's nothing... none of the other keywords, I don't think that...
Yeah, Kai'Sa's spell is interesting because it doesn't proc Fury. But any of those who are planning on playing Kai'Sa, unfortunately it doesn't because skills killing units don't count as the actual characters producing the skills killing them. If that was the case, I think you can consider Fury on Kai'Sa. That's just
I think it's nearly Overwhelm because the amount of damage you're pushing this turn is huge. Oh, just passing. Okay, not even going for it. I mean, are they just worried about the Quicksand?
I think they are, but it's very interesting here. Now Ogogon, you still have Quicksand, so you can still stop the Overwhelm from Void Blaster.
Still just dead, right?
I think you are just dead. Yeah, unless you invest that Noxian further to kill off the Fury Voidling. That's
this stops. You can kill Kaiser here.
So you can further the Dandy into the Voidling. And you can block the 3/3 with Inferno. And then Kaiser's dead.
Okay,
oh no, Kaiser's
still
not dead because Scrying Sands.
They just survive. The next turn, obviously, we're going to see the Cataclysm come down.
100%. And then Agogon has to count his prayers. Say his prayers even.
I mean, it's not going to have Overwhelm. So
No,
you probably give it impact.
Unless you Cataclysm Void Blaster.
You could do that. Yeah, that's definitely an option.
Okay, just going to face here.
I mean, it denies 1 damage. The Cataclysm, right? We'll see next turn when they draw. Most likely Cataclysm.
I would be surprised if it was that, or it would be Kaiser to get access to Supercharger. I think that's just a bit too expensive. Oh no, going into turn 7, you would have enough mana for Supercharger plus Cataclysm.
Probably. Oh, okay, tough. Going for the defensive line here from Strife. Not sure exactly how I personally feel about that, but I can see it panning out.
I think it's fine because Impact currently isn't going to do anything.
Okay, Power the Pandemonium right off the top here for Ogogon. That further potentially. How many thunders do we have? We've got plenty to fill up the board.
I think because Inferno drew a lot, we're filling up the board with 4 plunders definitely here.
That's not enough damage still.
No. That makes 9 plus your 2 shots coming out. It's not. You don't have the reach here. Your Dandy's getting blocked by the Cook, and Inferno won't get the shots back if Strife invests that quick.
I don't think. I think Strife has most likely got this match. I really don't see a way for go. Yeah, they can just slam this.
Who knew playing big units on curve was going to be a success?
If you're Strife here, you probably go for the Cataclysm. Oh, yeah. Just go straight for the lethal one.
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, I love it. And that's it. Strife's gonna take
game. Yeah.
Game 1 here against Ogogon. This is exactly what they wanted with this deck, and it's planning out to be perfect for them.
Savoring the defeat. Yeah. Eventually, the surrender does come through, and now Ogogon will be facing Strife's. Oh, I'm trying to remember. It's a Lowy Swain.
Yeah. Yep. Lowy Swain has to win.
I think that's that's weaker than the Garen Kaiser we just saw in these lineups.
Yeah, I think this will have more of an opportunity for the Fizz deck to do the burnout plan. Obviously, there's no healing in any of those decks, but in general, Demacia tends to do okay in the early stages of the game, whereas this deck can struggle a little bit more in the early stages. And again, we see the Riptide Sermon here that we were talking about before. This is one of those matchups you kind of really don't want that.
No, it's too expensive.
Oh, do you go for the parlay here and hope for no warning shot?
Every time you jam that parlay, the warning shot is clutch, but I'm under the opinion that if your Fizz is dropping turn 1, you always try and remove.
I'm under the opinion that you don't play Fizz in turn 1 without the warning shot.
Well, a lot of players will bluff it.
Yeah, that is true. But it is really unfortunate because now Strife, again, this is the problem with Fizz. This Make It Rain, practically unplayable.
Yeah. I'm actually wondering if we're seeing Strife Tentacle Slam the Samira here.
Yeah, you kind of have to. You don't really have a choice.
Oh, his voice is a 3/3. So you would be betting that the Samira doesn't have all out.
Yeah, but this way you have a backup. You have Disintegrate backup with this line, which is a lot safer.
True.
And you kind of want to save that as a win con. Your 3/3 is kind of how you win in this. Just one big tentacle overwhelm hitting.
Especially as the Samira Fizz deck, only tanky-ish units are Inferno and a Plundered Jagged Butcher. Everyone else has 2 or 1 HP.
Yeah, exactly. Probably Strife wants to start developing the Sea's voice sooner rather than later. But there is a consideration actually just to pass right there.
I could see Strife actually going Sea's voice, and then you can use Tentacle Smash just to summon Tentacle. You don't have to interact. They're just going for the spawn 1.
Yeah, I think this is fine. If you remove Fizz, you're super happy. It's one of the most painful cards for these Make It Rains. And there's a Swain. Okay, so this is going to get very, very interesting because obviously Agogon can pop off a little bit this turn. The ordering between both players will matter because obviously the Tentacle Smash is going to deal with a couple of cards. You've got the Riptide Sermon. I can deal with card 2. It's going to be tough. Obviously, the double powder in hand. Agogon just wants to get as many plunder triggers going as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I feel like Agogon, if they use I forget what the Samira created card is called, but if they use it to trigger plunder here, I feel like you have to go for the 2-mana elusive just to try and fish for a fast or burst speed spell to keep your Fizz healthy.
I mean, this is the thing. You don't actually need to have anything in your head.
Yeah, you can just bluff it. That's true. Strive will always assume Agogon has an answer. There.
I don't mind this line as well. Just going for the pirouette. You want to keep those tentacle options lower than before. Father's Fury gives you another. That's a slow spell. That's not exactly what you want. But you could just swing in here, take for 4.
Yep.
I think you're fine. You don't necessarily need to play the jailbreak for the 1-cost unit.
By my count, Agogon is on 2 plunder now, with the blades dropping. So if you're hitting 4, it's most likely you're only hitting for 4 because Swain is blocking that 1 drop almost every time.
You probably don't attack with it at all.
Yeah, I definitely agree. As a fearsome blocker as well for the Swain.
The other sort of cute line, you could attack with the 3/2, and then Fizz spell.
Then rally it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That'll be interesting to push for 4 more extra damage.
But it's a bit risky because then you tap yourself out, and then Make It Rain could hit a couple of your misses.
Then you'd have to bluff a warning shot, and you've already sent one. I don't know how many.
Oh, this is gonna get punished.
Oh wow!
Make It Rain just ripped. This is the scenario where Strife obviously goes, okay, I have to just play it, and hope it doesn't hit Fizz. But it hit Fizz, and Agogon had no answer, which is like the worst outcome for Agogon. But Strife's gonna know that there was no cheap spells there.
No plunder activators either now. Bit spooky. Can't progress that Powder Pandemonium any further. We're seeing a Tentacle Slam coming out here just on the elusive. Makes a lot of sense. And maybe just a Mirai Warden and a wide attack from Strife would be...
The other option is just play another Voices, right? Try to start building up that Tentacle for sort of a win con on your next attack.
Yeah.
The issue is here, Agogon can just play Powder. I don't mind.
I think it's only 2 or 3 right now. I'm saying 2. Okay, it's 3.
What this does is just stops the attack coming in.
Well, Swain's fearsome. So that will help him a lot. That will be 6 damage to face. Unless you expect an all-out onto a monkey.
Can't even all that. It's probably just only Swain that attacks it. But yeah, you can't play around the all.
Especially when last turn Fizz got Make It Rained, right? So if they would have to top deck an all out.
Yes, that is true. Maybe they should have gone for it because it would only have been a top deck. And what a top deck that is for Agogon. Gets the Fizz, gets a Stylish Shot plus another Plunder Activator, and play just their whole hand here. This is looking very, very dangerous. Price down to 8. Remember what we were speaking about being down to 8. That also, by the way, they're going to get a Riptide Summon here.
Oh, yeah, that's face damage. That's 2 to face for the Riptide Summon.
Yeah, and Fizz obviously leveling up. So this is looking really, really dangerous.
Yeah, that's going to be...
So what you do
4
here...
monkeys now.
So what's really scary here is you can choose to go for the disintegrate potentially.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
That
and
gives
then
you
attack with your quick attacker.
That gives you a fizz. No, that gives you a fizz spell to deny removal and fizz here.
Oh, true. Yep.
If you go Riptide, you don't get that, but you get the extra 2 damage. It's a really tough call because obviously fizz will generate. You want to keep fizz alive here because that's slightly more damage, but obviously the high roll is being able to do both.
But you do disintegrate because you have 7 mana.
Yeah, I'm talking about if you go Riptide plus Powder for the win on the next turn.
But you win this turn because you have 4. So the fizz is hitting.
Now, I mean, if you strive, you have to just Riptide the fizz. And hope.
Will answer.
But the thing is, you know, one of those last cards, you're basically just hoping they didn't choose Riptide, right? And they went, yep, there it is.
And that's just, it was a slow start for Ogogon, but the monkeys were just too powerful as this full attack is going to come out and the last breath to Noxus combo. Damn strong.
This is the issue. Obviously, if they get the fizz in the early game, it's actually really, really tough for the Swain Alawi deck to do much about it. It just needs a couple of those hits and they add up so quickly damage-wise. That does bring our score, though, to 1 apiece here in this. And we're going to be going into our final match showdown, which I believe will be Annie Jin versus the Alawi Swain.
Yes, I'm excited for this. I was really hoping we get to see this Jin deck today. So I want to see how these players are Ravenborn Tome, especially if they're attacking on evens. Because Annie plus Ravenborn Tome on 2 is it can't be blocked.
Well, that is true. There's a lot of removal options in Strife's deck. We can see 2 of them there.
Heavy metal.
Yep, that's perfect opening hand. You probably keep the parlay and the heavy metal.
And make it rain.
Yeah, there it is. That's like ideal. Outside of just having a few units, that was near ideal for Strife. Probably doesn't want the draw or the pirouette just yet. But can't really complain too much.
Gogon doesn't have a bad hand by any means either. Because Strife has... I don't think Strife has any fast speed deal 2 in his deck. This Demolitioner even, can just target us Speaker and extra damage to face.
Yeah, while that is true, I think you probably, if you're Gogon, probably should go for the Tuskpeaker as well this turn. Double 1-drop is great, but it's weaker into Parlay and Make It Rains on the open, whereas the Tuskpeaker most likely hit for 3. When you're playing sort of an aggro deck like this, you need to minimize every single 1 point here, 1 point there. And while the double 1-drop looks super alluring, what you want to do is play 2-drop now, and then double 1 potentially next turn. That makes Make It Rain a little bit worse. But yeah, I mean, if you go for the double 1 here, your Strife, you probably hit instant parlay. I'm not sure if I agree with that. No. You have Make It Rain already. You could just wait a turn and double 1 with the Make It Rain.
Saboteur is going to progress Jin's level up slightly as well. Not a Lotus Trap yet. That will be on the next. Annie coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I think your Strife is just passing here. Oh, just straight up ripping the pirouette, just denying. So the issue with this pirouette is Tuskpeaker gets to come down and hit for essentially 4 this turn.
Oh, sure, but do you really want Annie and Saboteur rocking an extra ability to progress Jin if you don't that pirouette?
So if they attack, you could just Make It Rain and you're taking 2. Essentially, it's the same thing. They proc 1 ability. You actually would have saved a little bit of help there if you passed.
Yeah, 1 exactly. Yeah. Because the Saboteur's ability still would have gone off, I believe.
So you were fine to pass there as opposed and then decide afterwards, depending on what was played. And you could have stunned the Saboteur and only taken 2, right? You could have 1 damage the Saboteur, stunned the Tuskpeaker.
Okay.
So I think it was fine to pass there and then Make It Rain on the attack and then wait and see, right?
Only getting burnt down. We do see the witness come in. That flow is going to proc and stun up a tentacle. set up for a slightly stronger attack.
You probably want a heavy metal here.
Yeah. Can't risk any leveling. That Tibbers could do a ton of work.
Oh, okay.
Great
I
hit.
don't know if I
Great
agree with
hit.
them. I mean, it's great, but you could have more likely guaranteed it starting off with heavy metal.
Definitely with you on that. There has to be witness.
Yeah, and now obviously if you're Strife, you have to use the heavy metal. And you're still taking 4, which is, again, not great. See, this is the thing. If you're Strife, you have to really think about each one of those 1 points of damage that you're taking. The Siren Song, I mean, the voices here stops 1 more. Technically, you take 4 instead of 5. Slightly better. But again, that's the sort of decision making I would have loved to have seen the prior turns. And trying to think what is sort of the worst outcome here if I stick next card.
And in most aggro matchups, these Jhin decks are trying to get that 1 extra damage, that 2 extra damage from face to be able to maintain a board. Shell Shocker actually a great pull for Strife.
It is a blocker, yes, but this Jhin now gets to come down on this board.
And cast Dancing Grenade.
And on top of that, you can use the Jhin spell.
Yeah.
To remove the Shell Shocker here.
Oh.
I think you do.
That's right. 100% you do, because it also produces 4 damage second bounce next turn, which will kill off this tentacle.
I think you're open attacking if you're the Jhin side, right?
I don't know how close he is to progression.
I don't think it matters.
Fair enough.
I don't think it matters. I think you just want to go as wide as you can. Hit for 4. You're hitting for about 4 or 5 just on the open, which is enough.
Lotus Trap will go off. You're generally blocking the Jhin, which means 4 from Annie, 2 from the Demolitionist, so 7. That's lethal.
Yeah, this is not looking great for Strife.
Harry, with no damage, fast spells.
Yeah, with that top deck, you 100% go open because you got that Demolitionist back up for 2 more damage after the attack.
You can use it on Jhin.
You really don't want to give Strife actions to actually remove Jhin here, and you want to just not give him like slow spells like heavy metal to remove units.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I do agree that looks like a bit of a misplay.
I think he still most likely wins.
Yeah, Tibbers
just because of how far ahead.
A blocker, yeah, true.
So you can Tentacle Smash Annie, which gives you a blocker.
Or do you Disintegrate Tentacle Jhin? I don't love that, actually.
Swain is, I think, the worst of the options.
Well, Flock will kill the Annie off, but obviously Tibbers is going to stun up.
You have to Flock
Jhin might
here.
level off this.
But you're just dead. I think the Swain is way too slow. Too big of a unit. Too big. You know there's a Tibbers, right? It's free information. You have to Flock here and you just take the damage. I think that's it. And I think Ogogon is going to be the first winner we see here in the top 8.
GG's coming out from Strife. And after going 6-0 in the preliminary rounds, won by Ogogon.
Yeah, I definitely think there's some different decisions Strife could have made in the early stages. I think going a bit too aggressive on their removal potentially cost them a little bit of health here and there. Whether or not that would have given them a chance to get back into the game, I'm not entirely sure. It was still looking overall pretty dire. This is the thing: if the Anijin just plays a bunch of units early, that's kind of what happens.
So congrats to Ogogon, who winning the quarterfinals and going through semis as the final smashes come in and the Nexus blows.
Yeah, super unlucky. They played fantastically during the Swiss portion of the tournament, being sort of the highest number 1 spot here coming out through Swiss. But again, this is unfortunately card games. You could go 6-0, you can go 7-0, and then you get hit with that one matchup you just don't want to deal with.
You draw your one Riptide summon, which you can never play, and you get 3 Tentacle Smashes in hand, and it's just looking a bit dire in the aggro matchups. That is unfortunate, but I believe during those games I saw that Cammy 1-2-0 matchup. I'm sure we'll be able to see the bracket soon of what these.
Yes. It's going to be super interesting. It is stacked, as we've been mentioning throughout the day. This tournament, by the way, for everyone who's tuning in, it's all thanks to one person in particular for trying to plan and organize it. Marshall, he's the one up fronting the money, and also the Aegis guys here are running it and running a fantastic job here in the background to allow us to have this tournament here on week 1 of the expansion.
It really has been great time. I've really enjoyed watching all the shows today, and I'm going to enjoy casting some shows later after this small break. Don't go anywhere, people. We've got a great semi-finals run. And welcome back. I told you it was only going to be a short break to the LoRreport Heart of the Huntress Open. Gems, that was quite an interesting best of 3 that we saw between Ogogin and Strife just then. How do you think that was overall without these Husk decks? Was the meta looking new? Because it reminded me a bit of last season, to be honest.
It was very much an image of sort of what we sort of saw in the last season, especially in Standard. Eternal was a different ballgame, but in Standard, it was definitely matching what we saw the past couple of months. It was interesting to see Swain Alawi, but again, I don't think the deck necessarily is poised to do well in this meta that as much as we've seen. It could have just been unfortunate for Strife because they did go 6-0 during the Swiss. It could have just been unfortunate that they ended up playing essentially 2 kind of aggro decks. One was an aggro deck.
It's a combo deck, really.
Combo aggro I don't know. It's one of those weird Terra style decks.
People will say it's mid range because you drop monkeys on turn 6 and 7 and try and win off that, but it's not.
It kind of just does everything. Had tons of draw, tons of refill, tons of aggression if you on some turns. Again, super interesting to see. Unfortunate for Strife, and going to be interesting to see how our brackets are shaping up right now.
Yeah, definitely. Going to see what next. Leah versus Cammy, 2 very strong.
Oh, and there is our brackets. So we've got Invasion of Chaos versus Gogogon on one side of the bracket, and Cammy versus Leah. Marshall, being the guy who ran the tournament, made it to top 8.
Yeah, gotta respect that.
Unfortunately, got knocked out by Leah here at that bottom side with a 2-1 victory. And also, Bratchkada, a huge player, has been around practically forever here in the Runeterra scene, losing it up against Cammy.
Cammy actually 2-0ing. And what I want to see is, so at the top of the day, I did see some triple Siren Song lineups. And I believe Cammy is one of them. So
I mean, we were expecting it. We were expecting
it. But he has brought the Anijin, no Ravenborn Tome.
Yeah, just more units, more aggression. Got the Augmented Experimenter, which we didn't see in the previous list. Really like that. Just gives you that option for more refills should you need it. And running,
Pigeon.
Crimson Pigeon. Again, it's just a more aggressive lineup. More 1-drops, more attacking early. Doesn't necessarily, obviously, Crimson Pigeon has not that many great targets in the early game other than Annie.
Or Stagehand or Solaris Sunhawk.
Yeah, that's it, really. But it's still just a 2-2 that hits. Kind of what you want.
Good 1-drop.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a more consistent curve. Doesn't really care about the Spiderling, right? There's no need for it. The Fearsome, I don't think in this meta matters that much. Whereas Crimson Pigeon's going to be a bit stronger. And then Fearsome Mirror. Again, this is the more aggressive lineup coming out here from Leah.
So this one actually including Jagged Taskmaster and Monkey Business.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
I'm on the opinion that Monkey Business, Jagged Taskmaster are nuts in this deck.
So Jagged Taskmaster can be very hit or miss. But when you're playing such an all-in version as this, which I quite like, you're basically just trying to go for the high roll early game and then top deck a powder, right?
Yeah, because you're missing a lot of draw for not including Inferno.
Yes, but in this meta, I think that's a bit too slow, right? So
Yeah,
you
definitely
really,
agree.
I like this lineup, this version a lot more for beating other Siren lists.
And even other Fizz Samira lists, you can really high roll them. And then, yay!
I don't blame them.
You can't blame someone for running an overpowered card.
So this is a version that is running the double Tailstone and the double Celestial's Blessing.
Ooh.
So one thing that I've noticed, a lot of lists have been choosing to cut Celestial Blessing and some bringing it back in. Another option, as we see, obviously, is the Blinded Mystic, which is great for the mirror. I'm not sure how effective that is going to be into other matchups.
Yeah, so I saw this Blinded Mystic getting talked about on Twitter yesterday. People are saying, oh, Zolani's getting dropped, but she just gets instantly removed whenever she's dropped. And someone answered, just play Blinded Mystic. But normally, if you're playing Zolani on defense, you're open attacking with her next turn, so you don't have the time to play Blinded. Or if you're dropping her on the attack turn, you don't have time. You don't have the mana to play Blinded Mystic.
No, it's usually defensively, right? Just to stop their Zolani. It's in the mirror. You just silence their Zolanis.
Oh, okay, my bad. I think I got my cards mixed up with Mila.
It's the silence. So the whole point is it's just a mirror card to deal with the opponent's Zolani.
Yeah, looking now at Cammy's list, this Nora Na has stuck around. It's Bandle Noxus. I have a personal hatred for Bandle Noxus control because I just can't ever find a win against it because they always find reach, constantly removing my units. But standard, I don't think anything has really changed from this list in the last month.
Yeah, nothing really outstanding. The question is more from Cammy's point of view as to what the ban necessarily is. Are you trying to target the Siren Song or just banning it out and dealing with the other versions? Going to be super interesting.
Can't remove husks that easily actually because the Pytos and the group shot, once that husks gets that extra +1 health, you can't remove them unless you want to invest drop the pot.
Yeah, and you have to remember this is Nora Na, not Annie. And we're not running the landmark either. That's full on in on the control aspect. There's no Ravenbloom Conservatory here. So those 1 damage is you're basically hoping to draw Lord Broadmane, right? And try to get the win that way.
Oh, definitely. And as we're moving on to the second lineup that Cammy's bringing, what it will be, will we see more mid-range? Yes, we will.
Another Alawi Swain again. Gonna have that same the single copy of Broadmane's interesting. I think it could potentially be a little bit slow. Double Riptide Sermon.
Stop trying to make Riptide Sermon work. It doesn't work. It's too slow for what it gives.
This is a very slow version of the list compared to what we saw earlier, which can end up being really punished by sort of the aggro lists on the Lear side, right? I really think Lear has got a really good shot into this deck. Yeah,
definitely. That Chin list will just run this over. Looking at how slow it is. Don't have any early drops. It's just spells. And Scouts are back. Hey, that's neat. This time with 5-Punch Pablo, which is I've not seen this deck before. I really like it. It's to help with Misfortune.
Yeah, it helps with Misfortune, and it's just a 4/1. I'm not sure how I feel about it myself.
Because you're a big Scouts player yourself.
Retired Scouts player nowadays.
Retired Scouts. Hung up the cap long ago.
Yeah, I haven't played it for a whole season, really. So yeah, it's one of those decks that still can be played in standard, and I feel like is in a position to do well in standard, because of the lack of answers for MF, really, in terms of like all the songs, Siren songs, but will get really outscaled very quickly.
Well, generally, the meta has Scouts performs very well to go wide meta. But when we're seeing all this going tool and removal piles, I could imagine without Ranger's Resolve being in standard anymore, Win and Misfortune are really going to struggle.
So one thing is Scouts historically just does bad into other slower mid-range Demacia decks, and a lot of like the Siren Songs kind of remind me of just slower mid-range. They're not Demacia, but they're kind of same thing, right?
They're Demacia-esque.
Yeah, you just play a bunch of big units, so it's super difficult for Scouts to actually deal with it. It really will basically have to rely on this champion strength to try and close out a game. Without that, I don't see how Scouts has any shot.
It's looking a bit spooky for them to succeed. Now we're on to bans, and I'm wondering, Leah most likely getting rid of that Nora Nah. That's how I'm feeling right now. But maybe if you're running these two aggro lists, the Annie Jin and the Fizz Samira, you want to get rid of Scouts.
I think you're right. I think it's Scouts. I think you ban Scouts because
it's most likely Husks are getting banned, right?
Again,
so if
debatable.
You're using that mindset,
yeah, there's the Husks on the side of Leia being banned. Yeah, I think it has to be Scouts, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think just the challenges and Misfortune pairing up.
Ooh.
Okay, going for the removal pile.
Okay, don't mind it.
Don't mind it. It will be very interesting. Cammy might be very happy about that ban coming out, actually.
I think this is Scouts in this matchup has a good chance because of the units that they're playing against are all very small. With Samira, it can potentially deal with the Samira, it can deal with the Fizz. If you can get any early game challenges, if you get Broadwing, that sort of stuff, it's going to look fantastic. There's no good answers for MF on either of those two decks, so you can kind of just slam it.
Well, yeah, there's no answers for MF, but I'm just thinking, on turn 6, if you're not drawing your champion strength, then these Powder Pandemoniums will just negate an attack. And that could really be rough for Scouts in general. You need to make every board clear work.
Well, that is true. If you get MF on the board,
true. Yeah, if she gets overwhelmed, then it's pretty over.
Well, it's not even that. It's just MF on the board basically means you get free trades nearly always into these two decks. There's so many 1 HP units, which allows you to keep your bigger board. I think Scouts is probably going to be the most favored for Cammy, but as we've seen historically, Ilaoi Swain does really poorly into these sort of more aggressive lists.
Luckily for Cammy, it's a slower Fizz Samira deck than what we saw in the previous versus Swain Ilaoi matchup, but it's a faster Annie Jin deck. So it'll be really interesting to see how Cammy controls the board.
Yeah, so obviously one of the issues with the faster version, so if the Ilaoi Swain is able to sort of survive the early couple of turns into the aggressive version, gets those removal options, and doesn't get bricked with like the 7-cost Leviathans and Riptides that they've got in their deck.
And a turn on Swain that you don't want.
Yeah, if they're able to survive the first couple of turns aggression from like the Fizz Samira, they will actually be in an okay spot because there's no Inferno, there's no like crazy refill.
Ilaoi and Swain might both struggle actually into the two Noxus decks because both of them are running Pirouette. And when you need either Swain or Ilaoi to be base to really push, Pirouette is so clutch.
Oh, it's such a fantastic card for Noxus. It's such a good card. It's still used in Eternal as well. It can deny an attack and remove a unit or trigger 1 damage to the face. It's because of how flexible it is,
and it gets discounted sometimes as well, which is great.
Yeah, it's such a flexible, cheap card that can kind of just slot into most Noxus piles.
So we're just waiting to get into game 1. So Gems, I ask you, what do you think each person is taking to step up into?
I'm not sure. I don't think it matters for Leah.
No, it completely doesn't matter for Leah at all.
I don't think it matters for Cammy either. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you could go Swain Ilaoi if you want to have like 2 shots at it, but again, you can have 2 shots of it anyway. Yeah. I don't think it matters. I think you just 50-50 them. I think you just roll the dice here, yeah.
And I'll ask you, how have you felt about the expansion so far? Are you just getting frustrated because Bilgewater is getting good spells, or have you tried out Porro King much?
I played a lot of the Porro King. I tried to make it work. I tried a few different versions. Ultimately, felt way
slow?
more. Yeah, not just that. The problem is you have to play a bunch of Poros in your deck, which
yeah, that is true. Yes,
which is a bit until you get like the buffing, the Poro snacks going. You end up just having really dead draws of 1/1 Poros for like half the game, which is not ideal until you get like Siren Song, until you get your buffs. And the problem is if you then hold just a bunch of buffs in your hand, you're not doing anything until like turn 3 or 4. It ends up being really poor. And then we're hopping into our first match here between Cammy and Leah, and that's a fantastic opening, nearly from both sides.
Wow. Okay, so insane plunder activators for Leah here, especially as in the scouts lineups you don't really have fearsome blockers early game.
Really depends on who's got the attack token.
Yeah, I was just thinking that it's who got attack token. If Leah is attacking on evens, attacking on odds, that is a little unfortunate, actually.
And Leah got rid of the warning shot, right? There's no activator on 1 now.
Swapped that warning shot out. We're an all out. Wow, that Duran Sculptor can actually do a ton of work.
It's going to be a huge nightmare for Leah to deal with.
Especially with these Petricide Broadwings, generally being able to get 2 trades off, even 3 trades after that bonus help.
Yeah, and then the Pablo as well is also a very interesting option to soften up something. But again, this matchup, not going to be too much of an issue, I think.
Pablo, great, you're reducing someone's health from 2 to 1. It doesn't really matter unless you're pairing it with a miss.
So Cammy's got a super interesting decision now because Leah's most likely going to pass, right? If you're Cammy, you have an option to pass back, which and not do the 4 damage, which could be super huge because obviously what you're thinking here is, okay, they could have a Samira, right? They could have X, Y, Z they want to play after the attack. So you can just pass it away. Obviously, we know Leah's hand. There's a bunch of plunder activators that we're probably going to try and sneak in. But super interesting to see here what Leah goes for.
No, going for the attack, saying, I don't think I have any good units to play here. Now, Stylish Shot into Elegant Edge and then buffed up by the 2-drop. Very scary, and Cammy might have to invest.
You just play
+1/+1 everywhere.
No, you just play your Vanguard Sergeant, right? Just play a 3/3.
Oh, of course I do.
He's just a 3/4, right? It's super chill.
Very true, very true.
And the next time you get double Broadwing. It's super good here for Cammy just to play that.
Very tricky matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the Broadwing here because
you have a fearsome blocker.
No, it's not even the fearsome blocker. Obviously, we can see both hands.
Yeah.
It's just thinking about your. So obviously, you have to think about the potential of a fearsome block, but you also have to think about your curve. Next turn, you're going to play 1 unit. You're only playing 1 this turn, but if you played Vanguard Sergeant this turn, you would have double Broadwing next turn. Now you can't do that.
Very good point. Yeah. Actually, because that 1 mana is going into spell mana, may be great in 3 turns' time, but won't be effective next few turns. And with that Elegant Edge hitting, Leah's getting that Stylish Shot back.
Yeah, and they took 4 damage unnecessarily there. If they just played the Sergeant, they would have been fine.
Now that Champion Strength is huge for Cammy, because Cammy is attacking on evens, means they'll get their Scout.
Yeah, because now so this is the thing I had with this curve. It's you get Inspiring Light this turn, yes.
Look, you can play Broadwing Inspiring Light next turn.
I think you just play Inspiring Light this turn.
It's tricky. I wouldn't be surprised if Cammy actually just passes here and burns Leah's mana. Because if Leah's not developing, Cammy is very happy just sitting at turn 6 blowout.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that's probably fine on Cammy's side now that you've drawn the champion strength. And you're only really scared of the elusives, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
You don't really care about any of these current non-elusive units.
Activating Dragon Butcher, just developing the board. Ultimate. Yeah, the Inspiring Light, you called it, is coming out here. We'll be able to do Broadwing and Bank spell mana next turn, though, or turn 6. Cammy's side, so quite happy about that.
So you can use Broadwing here to remove a unit.
You can kill a 3/2.
Yeah, exactly. Which I don't mind at all. I think it's perfectly fine. If they use something like an all-out, you are happy. I don't think you have to remove anything else. I don't think you're scared of anything else.
Well, the 3/2 challenging here is interesting because obviously using champion strength, it's still dying to a 5 attack elegant edge. But you do open yourself up to an all-out. Thunder has been activated. Elegant edge could get an extra 8.
Yeah, and this is the downside, by the way, of this all-in version of the Samiras. As we can see here, Lear's going to run out of resources incredibly quickly.
Oh yeah. As well makes sense, just clearing Cammy's board.
Yeah, the reason I'm not a fan of the Cammy's attack here in general is the threat of Powder Pandemonium becomes too big now, right? You've seen so many
4 activators, 5 activators.
If you just left their board full, the Powder Pandemonium gets so much weaker here.
Yeah, that's a pretty dead top deck. Gonna be able to
imagine Powder Pandemonium here from Lear, right? On this turn, it would have been devastating. That was my main.
+2 to and +2 attack to every monkey as well.
Yeah, exactly. Cammy would have to sacrifice the whole board, take a bunch of damage. It would have been atrocious. That's why I did not like that attack from Cammy.
Cammy would have taken 9 damage.
Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, probably more actually. That could have been lethal. Thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. That was the problem. I didn't like giving them that opportunity.
Of the spell mana, but really, I mean, not found a champion yet, but quite tanky units. Lear, another rough top deck. No unit at all. Oh, but that's a terrible scout pull for Cammy.
Even though it is terrible, it actually stops probably lethal happening this time. That's not terrible. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if that was the
2/1
Shuriman unit, that was lethal.
I mean, even the 2/1 would have put them down to 1.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is not great. If you're Cammy, you probably just slam the champion strength right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was thinking in my head, do you ever play blocking Badger Bear? But no, ever. Not for Cammy. Just one very scared 2/1 staring down at this massive board on Cammy's side.
Yeah, a very, very quick first game here from Cammy with Scouts. Scouts does really well into a lot of these decks. You just get a lot of challenger units, you get to remove stuff, and you just get the champion strength turn. And that's kind of what we were expecting to happen in this matchup. What's going to be interesting to see is how the Swain Alawi in the future games is actually.
Will Cammy play a lot more aggressive like they did this game? I'd personally say a bit over aggressive. Obviously, Cammy otherwise. And that over aggression could be punished. As Lear surrenders 1-0 to Cammy.
Yeah, fantastic play there from Cammy. Scouts being a pretty heads-up pick here for Cammy overall. Allowing them to sort of prey a little bit on the Siren Song decks, prey a little bit on all these other sort of Fists and Mirrors and stuff like that. So it's doing pretty well. Probably didn't do that well into any Kaiser lists though, which is unfortunate, but doing pretty well right now.
Yep, and I'm wondering, do you decide to jam the Jin? Knowing that you're into the Swain Alawi, because I believe.
I mean, don't think it matters.
No.
I don't think it.
That's fair, but
And that is not a great starting hand
That's
from Lear.
not a great opening hand. The Samira is going to alleviate some of that stress you are facing. Wowza, Cammy has perfect answers currently. Everything Lear could play.
Yeah, and if you play the Samira here, it's going to get heavy metaled. This is exactly what Cammy wants in this matchup. It's got a 1-drop, got a heavy metal. Kind of chilling from that point, I guess.
Luckily for Lear, they drew the pirouette to stop Cammy slamming that Alawi on 5. But actually, no, Cammy can play Alawi on 4 and then open attack and use Eye of Nagakabura.
So
massive overwhelm.
Lear has to play Samira here.
Yeah,
just 100%. To get the flare, right?
Yeah.
You need the flare available to you to get some blunder triggers going.
Yeah, to get these elegant edges going next turn.
And the other option is the barb chain, right? Just the draw.
Sure, you're not wrong.
It's not looking great, but
investing barb chain this early in the game is a bit rough because the cards are fleet, so you might not be able to afford them.
Yeah, that is true. Powder Pandemonium is the biggest problem with that line. But with the Fizz draw now, maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable going for that, the triple 1-drop here.
Yeah, definitely. Answer it. Oh.
I don't mind this part yet.
I don't think you could ever go for that part.
I don't mind that pass. It gives you a turn here to now set up the elegant edges while potentially looking for an option to keep the Fizz alive. If you'd gone for it last turn, there was a chance Fizz get parlayed. You didn't have a warning shot. And you only have
plus make it rating.
Yeah. So yeah, I think if you're Lear now, you just go for the flare, double 1-drop, and then you have backup options.
I think Cammy has to make the tough decision of whether you're investing tentacle to block these elegant edges. Then your Alawi will not progress as fast.
This is a really, really tough time for Lear, because obviously there is a consideration just to just Fizz all out, just use the Fizz to win this match, but or the draw. I think you have to at least develop one of the. You have to start developing the elegant edges at some point because you need plunder activators.
I don't mind.
I don't like this.
What? Okay.
They want to keep the flare, the burst speed, I guess, for Fizz.
Yep, that makes sense. But you do have the all out, which sure the flare is better in a lot of cases. How are we dropping here? She can block elegant edges without being. Oh no, she can't. She's got to attack. She can't even block.
Yeah, she can't block it. Yeah.
Massive swing then coming through for Lear here. Can barbed chain, and if you draw monkey, not the end of the world. Next turn.
No, it's just damage, right? So you've got. So the issue with this line is if you'd just gone for the flare, you would have had a pirouette anyway afterwards to stun. You could have stunned anyway, the tentacle, it wouldn't have mattered. You would have got an extra blunder trigger.
True.
Depends how all in you want to be if you're there.
Well, actually going for the double parlays.
You're probably just all out here, to be honest with you, on your attack.
All out would being 10 damage total, putting Cammy down to 9. Plus that flare, that's putting Cammy down to 8.
The thing is, obviously, if you're on Lear's side, you don't pre-commit it. You're waiting for like a make it rain. Yeah, that's what you're. This is what you're expecting here from Lear is some type of make it rain, and hoping not to hit the Fizz. Because obviously they know they have flare, right? So the make it rain's risky as hell.
Meaty attack coming through from Lear. Cammy, way of answering it.
Yeah, the double parlay is very, very slow here from Cammy, and really unfortunate because you can't just all out here.
You take this. I actually think you take it and go for the barb chain.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fine. You save the all out for an attack with Fizz.
Cammy will be hitting for 10 if
doesn't matter.
Are blocked.
I don't think it matters.
I agree. I don't think it.
Oh, doesn't go for
Eye
the
of
draw.
Nagakaboris actually you're hitting for 14 unblocked.
That didn't go for the draw that turn.
Pandemonium though. Lear is very happy that they didn't go for the barb chain, otherwise that would have been fleeting.
I think you're fine playing it this turn, right though?
You're very happy. I wouldn't be surprised if the Elegant Edge blocks Tentacle here, to be honest.
Yeah, you kind of...
you out of any risk.
I think you have to. And then you probably have to trigger Plunder here to get that Powder Pandemonium up a little bit more.
Flare plus Barb Chain.
Yeah.
They did remove the interaction where Pandemonium was giving for an extra monkey if you plundered that turn.
Yeah, I remember that. It considered itself a plunder card itself.
That was nuts. That was very widespread bug once people figured that one out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was definitely used a lot. So if you're there, I'm still contemplating the Barb Chain last.
I think you could do 4 mana Barb Chain, to be honest.
No. Because you can powder this turn and Barb Chain, look for the next one.
Well, but your monkeys die at round end.
Yeah, you just do damage to the next.
Yeah, that's very fair. Discounted Barb Chain.
I think you do go for it, yeah.
Double? Okay, going very wide with the monkeys. That makes 5. Cammy has no way of answering this. Currently, unless they top deck an amazing Make It Rain. And just a Swain.
I mean, these cards. By the way, the Samira is huge.
It's nuts. It's so
yeah. Because you can have like quadruple, you can have like triple, double all out here and Powder Pandemonium on board.
How's
You probably start off with a Powder Pandemonium. See what your opponent does.
Or there is a line where you go Warning Shot, Taskmaster, Pandemonium.
I don't know if it's good enough.
And then you keep all out for the first. It would buff them an extra one, so they would be killing Tentacle in the meat.
This is such a tough total, because I mean, we know Cammy has no answers, right?
yeah. But we're all talking about the possibilities for Lear, of course.
Yeah. Lear's just trying to think of what the best possibility is here. What's the worst outcome from that Cammy can deal with, right? We know Cammy doesn't have anything, but obviously Lear's spending their time right now trying to think what is the worst turn here.
Cammy's gone off to make a cup of tea, knowing that their fate is sealed. That Pandemonium definitely going to announce. Cammy now double all out available plus Warning Shot and a Flare.
And no answers from Cammy's side.
Exit damage.
You keep the
Swain
Warning
dropping
Shot
just to say hi. Swain's just pointing at the monkeys going, what are those? Why are they charging towards me?
Yeah, I like this attack. You're threatening lethals. They have to block and then you can respond.
Even blocking is...
Yep.
That is going to 1-1. Again, game 3.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we kind of expected, right? This Swain Ilawi's been doing pretty poorly into the more aggressive lineups. It's probably been doing fantastic into the Soxia lineup. So it's just a matter of what opponents you managed to end up hitting in this tournament.
And that's not good news for Cammy, because they're now taking the Swain Ilawi into a Jin Annie as an aggressive deck. And they're going to have to draw unbelievably well. I'm talking the Parlows, the Make It Rains, and the Heavy Metal.
Yeah, I mean, they are running loads of those, but as we saw, there's a lot of dead cards. So like Leviathan's a dead card in this matchup.
Oh, 100%.
Swain can be okay, but you don't want him until like turn 7 or 8 anyway. The double Riptide Sermon, again, you don't want to draw. There's a lot of big misses in this version that Cammy's playing.
Cammy does find the Heavy Metal. Scorched Earth is a dead card.
Idol's fantastic. Heavy Metal's good.
Oh, he might. Oh, keeping Scorched Earth. I'm a little surprised about that.
Maybe they mulliganed and we missed it. There's a potential of that too.
There is a possibility. Yes, okay, so Leah, both the Crackshot Kaseya and Mana Source means past turn 3, every ability gonna do every skill gonna do so much fate.
Yeah, this is a really, really good opening hand for Cammy, right? The double Heavy Metal that deals with most cards turn 1, 2 from Lear, which is what you really want.
Great, you get rid of Tuskbringer, which obviously Overwhelm is amazing in this deck, and the Mana Source Junior has 2 health. So you can immediately answer that before you can start doubling up abilities.
Yeah, good Lear. this hand isn't what you really wanted. You wanted a bunch of weenie 1-drops, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a Crimson Pigeon, that sort of stuff that's just annoying to deal with. Or Sour Heavy Metal there.
Yeah, it doesn't have Jin. It means no speeding up through those Lotus tracks.
Yeah, you kind of have to play Tusk Speaker, but the problem with playing Tusk Speaker here is
it's rough. Feels bad, especially as you're doing damage to your own Nexus in this match. Cammy actually has more tempo than you currently.
You're Cammy, you take that pass every day.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Aggro deck passing on you. You're like, yep.
Oh, okay.
You probably just pass it if you're a Cammy, by the way. Super happy just to pass it, by the way.
I definitely agree with you. Yeah.
You just pass.
And you can drop. What's great is Cammy can drop a Lowy on 4, and Sunhawk is too slow to answer that for the open attack on 5.
Yeah, I didn't even like playing the voices here. It's
Because it taps the mouth mana.
yeah, I mean, you just want to keep hold up the double heavy metal, right?
Yeah.
They can never play anything. You just pass. They can't. You have to understand how painful it is for an aggro player just to have someone just pass you like that, because you have to play your stuff.
Yeah.
The later
100%.
this game goes, the better it is for Cammy.
Oh no! And the anchor is about to hit the Manosaur student right in the mush.
Can further here to remove voice. You probably want to remove the voice at the 3/3.
Would also Manosaur's ability. So one to face. Oh, it doesn't feel great.
Nope.
I definitely agree that you need to deal with that voices now, with that tentacle getting bigger and bigger, especially as Leah has mana left. It's a swing for 6 for Cammy. Now it's just a swing.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of had to do that.
Yeah. That is a further not going into face, which feels bad for an aggro player.
Yeah, the idea is obviously that by removing a 3 HP unit, you're going to push roughly 3 HP with the attack anyway later on. I mean, this is.
I don't
the
think
draw
it's
might
great.
be bad, but you got flow activated and you got a stun this turn. You got a double stun, which is most likely what you're going to want to do. You want to probably go Sunhawk here and then hit for like 5, yeah, and hit into Witness to hit for like 5.
Surprised at Cammy passing it, getting 2 damage.
It's whatever,
on turn
right?
4, I'm very happy with that. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind either. I think 2 damage is completely fine.
Honestly, for the first time today, Gems, I think the Riptide Summon might be a good play.
Yes, however, you don't have the mana.
No, I mean on turn 6. It could be great. Oh, now Cammy drawing a Make It Rain as well to deal with it. A big swing for an hour.
You have to hit okay here.
Yeah, just
probably
have to sack it.
You're just going to go as wide as possible this turn. So you're probably going to play 2 Tuskbringers plus Crackshot Corsair.
So,
you don't want a Demolitionist because that sets you up for like a Disintegrate.
Does Leah look at this and go, I can block a Larry with Witness, an augmented experiment of the other?
No, you just you do that next turn, right, on the attack.
Well, you can't guarantee that Cammy's going to block that.
You know,
Probably
you can't,
will.
but you've got double
Probably
tusk
will.
with the double Tuskbringer. It's going to be very likely. You want to set up the open. Your health as an aggro deck really doesn't matter. You want to go as wide as you possibly can here.
Our speaker actually going to be doing 2 damage to Leah's own Nexus, which might be the difference here with this big overwhelmer of the Alawi.
It's super dangerously close, but I don't think if you're Leah, you don't have much of a choice.
Block on the tentacle. Quite sure what you're blocking with.
Yeah, I'm not sold on these blocks. I think if you're on the aggro deck, you kind of have to go for the all-in. The problem is, obviously, if you're Lear, you didn't get the early turn that you wanted with a couple of 1-drops, and now you're trying to like claw yourself back into this game, and trying to claw yourself back into a game where the opponent's playing a deck that can stall out much better than you.
Yeah.
It's going to be rough. That's why I didn't like that block. I feel like if you had one more unit wide, you would have felt the opening attack would have been far more effective.
Now, Leah. The worst thing for Leah here, honestly, I think, is if you top deck Chip. Because then you can't use Experimenter to refill a good hand.
Yeah, and if you go another Tuskbringer here, plus Crackshot Corsair, you're only 1 wide instead of 4 wide.
Yeah.
But I mean 2 wide, which would have been an extra like 4 or 5 damage, which could be really relevant.
That Scorched Earth is basically dead in hand. So Cammy realistically cards. I'd say they're 3 pretty good cards at closing out this game.
Yeah, I mean the other option, obviously, as you mentioned, was that Experimenter and Alawi line. I think the Tentacle line is neither here nor there. That block. Sure. I think if you had to block the Alawi and go for the Experimental line that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and as you said, Nexus Health you don't really care about as an aggro deck, so you don't care that the Alawi's overwhelms doing damage. Than if.
Yeah.
Oh, it hits.
Yep, and now
That's rough.
The Scorched Earth is also available here to read the Tuskbringer if you want. Yeah, I don't like that line because, yeah, I think it was neither here nor there from their side.
Okay, Pirouette.
Huge draw.
We'll set up quite a good swing here. You can kill the Tentacle and stun the Alawi, but it means you can't Experimenter.
Can't Experimenter, and Riptide Sermon comes down.
Yeah. Really scared of the Riptide Sermon, much more about those parlays and that making rain being very scary.
Going back to that previous standard, had Lear developed a wider board and had a 3/3 left on board here, the making rain was more likely to miss the Crackshot Corsair as well.
True. Yep.
So there's a lot of little things there that could have gone a little bit better. Yeah, you would have taken more damage. But again, the other options that you could have had Experimenter killing Alawi here too. So again, really tough choice.
Draw. Really loses out on value if you're hitting something like a Leviathan with 8 HP. Or is it 7 now after the book? Same as the Riptide Summon comes out. Speaker. And now provides good blocker for that Sunhawk.
So you have to go for the 2-drop here, the Imperial Demolitionist, push 2 damage. And then the problem is, though, you're just dead on the open.
Yeah.
You attack.
Yeah, especially with Alawi. I'm pretty sure Alawi's leveling here. Attacked for 12, I believe, the first time round. So 1 Tentacle hit will level her.
So you can play Imperial Demolitionist and not attack. But again, that's not winning you the game.
Not great. Especially as I'm pretty sure Cammy can still open attack. And then drop Leviathan. Damage will be on round start.
And I don't see Lear having a chance here to do 8 damage, right? If they go for this attack.
Yeah, yeah. Without Decimate in standard anymore.
Yeah.
There's no hope to do that much face damage. I'm just sticking down. Draw.
No, Tentacle Smash, though, however, is a great draw for Cammy.
Yes, it's incredibly good.
So what you can do here, if you're Cammy, you can Tentacle Smash the 2/2, the Protector.
Yeah.
If they further, you have a backup with the Scorched Earth.
Very good idea, yep. And will progress your Alawi's level up. Oh.
Obviously leaves them open to Experimenter, but you level up Alawi, right? We're assuming that it's a level up.
Yes, would level up Alawi, but she wouldn't give it the extra spawn. She wouldn't give it the extra spawn, so it would die still.
Yeah.
Just go for the overwhelm. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, this is completely fine too.
Tentacle will get killed by Experimenter, but Cammy doesn't care.
You have to go for Experimenter on the Tentacle if you're Cammy.
Oh, 100%.
You take... How much damage are we taking?
Not actually that much.
But you
by
have to
my
win on your
count,
next attack. If
You're only
carrying.
taking 2, but then round start you're taking 2 more from Leviathan, and then there's Riptide summons adding an extra 2.
You're taking 3, right?
Alawi's only gain +1.
And you're overwhelming.
Oh yeah. You're taking 3.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Leah considering being left on 1 HP.
So this is the problem. Like, they had the consideration to do this the prior attack, right?
Yeah.
And now they're doing it at what's probably a turn too late, right? They had to make that decision a turn or two earlier whether or not to take that damage. And now they're going for like the half, trying to go for this sort of like.
Sure.
And that's this sort of strategy of trying to like take more damage to go for a wider swing, where they had a much more opportune turn earlier on to do that.
And despite my whinings, Cammy made Riptide Summon happen. As it's doing face damage now, the feet's coming out, and Leah down.
Yeah, fantastic play from Cammy there to take that match and securing a spot for themselves in the grand finals here.
Right, and playing for that prize pool. Tidy cash that could be in Cammy's pocket in about an hour's time if they're able to. We don't know who they're playing in the finals yet, but it's going to be a cracker of a match. As we're going to a quick break, only going to be a few minutes. Don't go anywhere as we go forward for the heart of the Huntress LoRreport Open. Welcome back. I'm still RoryB, that's still Gems, and this is still the LoRreport Open as we're heading into the finals between Cammy and Invasion of Chaos. Now, Gems, you had words for Invasion.
Did I?
I believe so. It might have been Hirsch. My bad. As we're not pulling him on to talk. Yeah, so let's talk about the series we joined. You were saying that Annie Jin just now wasn't the greatest in the meta for how important certain decisions.
Yeah, because you have to remember in standard, Annie Jin lost a lot of very key cards. The biggest one obviously being Decimate. So in this sort of this new version, you are scratching to find like 1 point of damage here, 1 point of damage there, little skill here, activation here, and if you end up missing even just like 1 or 2 damage here or there from maybe miss sequencing or just blocking where you shouldn't have blocked and maybe going for a wider swing, you don't have that reach in the later stages of the game really outside of Jin. So you're heavily reliant on being sort of optimal to maximize every little single point. If you don't hit those little points, that could be the difference of you just winning or losing a match.
What I find quite funny is we came into today talking nothing but Siren Song, and we haven't seen it yet because it's been banned. No one's running double Siren Song lists that we've seen so far, and clearly the ones that haven't been successful.
Yeah, hopefully we're able to see Invasion of Chaos's list, because they made it all the way to the finals. They've been playing fantastic. They've had some great opponents along the way. You said there might not be double Siren Song, but we haven't seen Invasion of Chaos's list yet. So there is a possibility when we look at their deck list for that to be the case.
Yeah, and very confident win over a Goggin there, 2-0 for Invasion of Chaos. Coming into the finals, very happy. Double 2 bracket. That doesn't get anyone down. So we've been seeing almost entirely aggro or mid-range. We haven't seen any control. Why do you think that is? Do you think Karmaset just fell off?
So we've seen the Nora Na. We've also seen the Viega, right? But they've all been knocked out so far. I don't know. I think it's just one of those decks where, again, it might just be people testing. There's a possibility. I mean, Karmaset hasn't actually gone anywhere, but maybe it's just people testing, right? You never know in these tournaments. A lot of people just trying out the new cards, seeing how they feel in the tournament setup, trying to figure out what's strong. And this is like the perfect place for that.
And look, I've casted a decent amount of Karmaset. I don't want to spend any more time doing it, but it's still interesting because a lot of people would still argue that is one of the decks in the meta. So I thought we'd bring it up. So, Cammy, we're looking once again at their deck list. The Scouts looking pretty good. The one showing we see.
Yeah, I think it does really well into potentially the Seer Desk if you can get the early game of the curve. Scouts is known for like 1-2 into Misfortune, into like a champion strength on turn 6, kind of what you're looking for to finish off the game. 5-punch Pablo is, by the way, probably really good into the Seer lists, chipping down the HP for the attacks.
Oh, sure.
With the price fight, that's one consideration. We're assuming that's why they brought it, or they're just trying to ban it and play against the other decks.
Yeah, true. Or they just want a good 3-drop with a tune. That could be another reason. Get off an extra spell on turn 4, something like Inspiring Light.
Yeah.
And just buff a little bit more. Obviously, we've already talked a lot about Alawi Swain, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. This Scorched Earth is quite interesting. I think it's designed for Evelyn decks, just Tusk decks that get a bit out of.
Yeah, I mean, just Disintegrates and Scorched Earth give you multiple options to remove the Zelanis, right? That's you can ping, remove. But Scorched Earth is a little bit worse because obviously if the Zelanis leveled up and you ping and then they attack, they buff up their board to like 50 feet to like 30-30s.
And it's suddenly like, oops, all Zelani.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Scorched Earth's not going to do anything for that. Moving on to the deck that was banned. Storing up.
Again, very same the thing. It's just removal.
Yeah.
Stall out for as long as you can and hope for Captain Farad to finish off the game.
Yeah, it's just one of those annoying attrition decks that a lot of people dislike. Mostly because a lot of people have said Nora in these kind of control decks is very frustrating because you're not playing for a Nora win con, you're just playing to get extra units. But then I'd argue that's a great flexible champ and that should be praised, not brought.
Yeah, one thing we haven't spoken about this deck is obviously the inclusion. They've got double wallops in the main deck.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fantastic into like Zelanis. So probably looking to try stun that down, give themselves an extra turn, and then slam one of these broad mains on the board. This basically just broad main plus removal, right? We've seen this time and time again.
It's just pure vomiting out removal to bring down your opponent's boards, and then you either win from just overwhelming them with portal units or you drop a Farron.
Yeah.
Even though Decimate is 6 mana now, it's still bloody good at hitting.
Yeah, I mean, you also have that puzzling signpost. It is a one-off, but that just gives you an extra turn, right? Which actually might just be enough, right, in this deck.
Oh, definitely.
If you hit like a Siren Song and delay like a Siren Song list for a turn, you're fine. But that's the thing. We're assuming there's a Siren Song list on the other side. When we have a look at Cajun's list, there might not be any.
No, there might not be any, but I was following that up with yes! Okay, I was about to say we haven't seen any Jax Ornn after it being unbelievably strong in Eternal and decently strong in Standard. Here we are again. This deck's running Ice Veil Cultist, though, which I love.
Yeah, it does lose. I can't remember which card it loses. There's a few cards it loses in Standard compared to Eternal, but it does keep the sort of the bulk of its core there.
Big one is Troll Chant and Half-Blood Mender.
Yeah.
Those are the cards usually run in Eternal. Ice Veil Cultist, though, I know some people go for Wrought Colossus instead as a game ender, but I actually like this when you're going for a...
And they're running 2 copies of Unforgiving Cold as well in this version, which is it's a much slower version, really trying to win sort of the mid-range part of the game and try to basically build an Ornn that's bigger than the Siren list, I guess. Or just ban it. We don't know.
Oh yeah, or just ban it.
We need to see the rest of the lineup, right?
Well, we've seen Cammy's lineup.
Of invasions, I mean. We don't know if this deck is trying to go against Siren or just be okay into it.
Yeah. This deck actually surprisingly, which a lot of people wouldn't think because you're like, oh, Disintegrate just ruins Ornn. But you can just keep cycling the weapons through and through, and no one runs the 3-mana strike destroyer equipment spell and knock. So you can just cycling these, and your board is constantly.
Yeah, looking good. Moving on to the next deck here from Invasion of Chaos. And we see here, there it is.
Oh, it's the Diana variant.
Yeah, the Diana instead of the Kale. So there's a few variants going around.
Ooh, I have a cool thing to bring up about this.
Yeah, they're running Winding Lights.
No, Winding Light's one of them. But if you hit Siren Song and Lunari Dustbringer, if you use Dust Petal Dust to reduce Diana to a 1 cost, she'll get buffed from Siren Song.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
It's a really neat interaction. That means Diana's actually dropping as a 3 plus any husks.
Yeah, but they had to cut down on Vora, which is, I guess it's arguably the weakest card anyway. And they've got a lot more heavy on the 7 drops, right? They've gone 2 and 2 here, Winding Light plus Zolani. Winding Light it basically hopes that you already have a board. And sometimes in the Evelyn list, you can end up with only maybe 1 or 2 units, right? Which isn't as wide as Winding Light would like. Yes, you can use it to buff the husks, I guess, but like they're not attacking.
Yeah, you can use it to buff husks, but then like on turn 10 it will be alright if you're dropping your 1 drops to then eat the bigger husks.
Yeah.
It's a very hard to pull out play, especially when Winding Light needs.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sold on the Winding Light, but I think the rest of the list is really solid. And Nico Garen, this is the list a lot of people. You haven't seen it? So this was a list that was played a lot on day 1 of the patch. And it's basically a very strong mid-range list. It's basically a champion strength deck. You just splurge out a bunch of units. You just throw them onto the board, try as many different types as you can, and then champion strength for the win.
I'm a little concerned because even though you have your deck hunter manifesting, Nico can't be dropped early and disguise effectively, if that makes sense, because there's only 2 drop units in the base deck. Which means if you see a random junk construct, you immediately know it, and you can focus your removal.
Yeah, well, that is true. I don't, because you run cards like Form Up and stuff, it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world, but it does make playing Nico a little harder.
The idea of obviously this deck is to basically get Nico leveled super quick, right? You got to look how many 1-drops they're running. They're running 12 1-drops in this.
You've got Elite, Bird, Spider, Dog. It's great.
And Fae on 2, and it's very much and then obviously you got your Bonehide Tri-Tail as sort of your, what's the Noxus equivalent?
Fan favorite.
Fan club president or fan club favorite.
Not fan club president. No. We're talking about the 2-1 with Overwhelm.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It's buffed by your board. I'm trying to remember its name right now.
It's the equivalent, but just bigger, right? It ends up being like a 7/6 a lot of the time. You just slam on 4.
And that's frankly nuts. A 7/6. Like, you have to invest Sunburst.
So what I like about this list, a lot of other lists I've seen with this ran a little bit slower. They ran like triple Grandfather Fae, more like 2 drops, much slower version of this. This is like full on spam as many 1-drops as we can. Get that Nico as soon as physically possible leveled.
So what I love is Anora and Fruip discount all units that their subtype isn't represented on board, which means all these 1-drops could be.
Yes,
and you can just vomit out 1-drops and then put Garen on turn 4. Which is
that's the idea.
Swing.
Yeah, Garen on 4 is basically the idea of this list, of this deck, by the way. You nearly always keep Anura and Fruip in your opening. And then basically just slam that on 3 and then try to get Garen on 4. So attack on, you basically want to attack on evens a little bit on this deck.
With the innate tankiness of Demacia, I wonder if you ban this. I don't think the Noxus decks and scouts from Kami can really deal with this kind of spam.
It's tough to decide because you either have to ban this or the Dongxia deck, right?
Yeah, but
Scouts will do. Like Scouts is going to actually potentially struggle into this.
Yeah, I think Scouts is a little slower. Sorry, I think Siren Song list is a little slower, so could give Scouts a bit more breathing room compared to this.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting.
It's going to be very...
because obviously Scouts has some really good early game turns to sort of stave this off if they can get some challenges, start removing these 1-drops.
Wing would put heavy lift.
Yeah, however, the second Nico levels up, that all flips on its head.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes people do just play Nico for the, I believe it's Shape Changer trait. So you'll just play an undisguised Nico and then swing for a massive...
Yeah, so now we're looking here at the ban options. We've been discussing, obviously, the side of Invasion of Chaos, what would get banned there. If you're Invasion of Chaos, what do you ban in the opposing lineup? Because...
I would personally get rid of this removal.
I mean,
like...
there's 2 decks running
you're not wrong.
Heavy metals, right?
I feel like Broadmain heavily shuts down the Eve deck, and I think Forge is going to a little bit more than Alawi.
It's a very close matchup call, but yeah, I think Cammy's in a good spot here too, no matter what.
Oh, definitely. Very interesting decks go against.
And we were expecting loads of songs here, and we only have 1 in the grand final, which is surprising. It might just be in this meta, people just been trying to either target it or just ban it and beat out the other 2 weaker decks.
Or it's been oversold. And it actually is way more flawed than we give it credit to be. And the stats are just slightly inflated because on the first week, a lot of people are trying out unoptimal. And this deck is very premium.
Yeah, it's a very interesting matchup for the grand finals, and I'm super psyched to see it, because I was expecting loads of songs here, as I keep rattling on about. So seeing like this 6 different decks, right, from both sides is very uncommon a lot of the time.
Refreshing.
Yeah, it's refreshing and very uncommon, and it really tests my knowledge as a caster as to what the matchup tables are going to look like, because it's not something I have memorized. Is when you see a bunch of very different decks.
What do you mean you haven't seen the Forge versus Scouts matchup table?
That's actually really bad for Scouts, by the way. I can tell you that one.
Oh yeah, 100%. Fish Fight will just destroy Scouts because MF cannot be played. Oh, actually banning Scouts. Scared of their very early pressure. And yeah, Siren Song deck gets banned out.
I'm super surprised by that, because I would have thought the other 2 sort of... The Jack Zorn would have done just perfectly and fine into it. And I thought the Nico deck would have had a good shot into it too.
I think the Nico deck would have been pretty outspun.
I thought it was really close. I don't think it was... It really depends on how quickly you level Nico.
Yeah. But as Anura and Throop are so key in this Nico deck, put yourself in a situation where the moment they drop, they're getting instantly removed by Nox and Vandal.
Yep. Not sure how I feel. Not sure how I feel about these bans.
It could be a comfort ban.
Could be.
Could be just, I haven't played into Scouts in a long time. I'm much more comfortable playing into these decks. I've played very...
Yeah, I feel like Cammy is in a perfect position, right?
Yes.
To take this, I think. The double heavy removal boards, as long as you keep... The thing is, as long as you keep Nico boards small, you're not gonna, there's nothing to be worried about, right? As long as you keep, and in the Jack Zorn side, they develop a lot slower. So as long as you keep that weapon removal up, you're going to be fine.
And how's this Garen ever going to stay on board? Because he has to strike to progress level up, and Disintegrate is a fun card that exists.
Scorched Earth is in both. Is in the list too. There's just a number of good options from Cammy here, and historically, sort of Nox's control is usually pretty good into Demacia. And let's be real, Invasion of Chaos is essentially playing 2 Demacia decks.
Yep, that's a very fair point.
Jack Zorn is basically...
We've got white Demacia and tall Demacia.
Yeah. I've made this comment before, but Jack Zorn is essentially the play pattern of like a mid-range Demacia deck.
Just with the equipment gimmick.
Yeah.
It's not a gimmick, actually. I quite enjoy equipment. I want to see the Gnar deck coming through, because I actually think it has very difficult play early games if you're not just going into 1 HP unit, right? If you actually have to think about how you're developing your board, when you need a Gnar to maybe create a wallop in hand, it's very important. As we're getting into game 1, Cammy going for this Nora Gnar removal pile, a Vision of Chaos going for wide. Oh.
Yeah, and fantastic opening hand here from
What a
Cammy.
hit onto the spider.
Yeah, well, that is true. It's still a fantastic opening hand though from Cammy, right?
Yeah.
You can drop the bomb on the spider, not be too worried. High toss, you're chilling.
Yeah, completely chilling. Cammy developing jump, and it's almost all.
I'm surprised it's not just slamming the Nora, right?
Yeah, I was thinking slam the Nora, but it doesn't matter. You like Invasion of Chaos has no slow speed removal, so you don't need to.
Was Invasion of Chaos running Badger Bear? I don't remember. I don't think so, right?
Oh, I don't remember seeing it in the list.
Yeah. So you're not even scared of an elusive blocker? That was the only consideration.
Only issue for Cammy here. No Disintegrate or Scorched Earth, and that is a buffed up Garen. It got hit by the Omen Hawk. Cammy really gonna have to draw some big unit removal here. I love Gonzo in this list, actually. I think it's really slot into archetype.
So I've seen a lot of this run it. Obviously the benefits of it is you get that 3 spell mana available for the champion strength turn while developing, but a lot of the time it's just
it was created by Deckhand,
yeah,
by the cat, but obviously it's a dragon prop. Really good for Nico because she can't run dragons in her Garen ability.
And this is the thing, Cammy has to be very worried about the champion strength blowout. Really needs to start chipping away down at this board and not letting Invasion of Chaos go wide.
Removing that spider there, slowing down that aggression. That's a very good hit, actually, off the portals. And there's the Disintegrate for Cammy. Going to be able... Garen, ow. Does need to go in for the attack to... Could delay it.
Probably not too worried here. Probably just wants to set up for champions. Yeah, you can go Deck Hunter, look for something else. There's a spider. There's another elite. You haven't played either of those. You haven't attacked with either of those two yet.
Important thing about Obedient Drakehound for all those that don't know, because it's when an ally attacks, I attack with it. It doesn't count as actually declaring the attack, so it doesn't progress Nico level up.
Yeah, I've had that problem before.
Yeah.
It's
a very important thing to tell people. Because I've seen a lot of angry posts on Twitter about it.
It's caused me headaches when the funniest part is I transformed the Nico into that once.
Oh no.
And then went for the attack thinking it was gonna level, and it just didn't. I was like, oh no.
And it's just a bit like your the meme with the guy just holding his hands out looking around being like, what do I do now? I can't defend with the Nico. It's kind of just sitting there on board.
Yeah, it's a very, very weird interaction that I suspect a lot of Nico players have fallen prey to very quickly.
Oh, yes. And Cammy looking in a very favorable position here. We won't see what's manifesting. Okay. The cook being manifested. Very good. Oh, hello, it's us again. Hi, everyone. So you get to stare at our ugly mugs for a bit longer while production are fixing some technical issues. But as I was saying, Cammy was actually in a very favorable position, able to clear away that spider with the pie toss. And Garen will get instantly removed because...
Yeah, looking really strong for Cammy when we last saw the board state. However, champion strength, I can't keep understating. I'm slamming my table right now. You can't keep understating how game-winning that card is overall. Really, really is the key card in this matchup for Invasion of Chaos to have any chance of winning really just wants to keep their board as wide as possible. There's a chance you don't ever go for any of the attacks early game, and just try and pass and get to that champion strength turn.
And Cammy has really now got a fish for that buzzing signpost if possible, hoping they top deck it, because that will delay the champion strength blowout by 2
Few option
turns.
wallops, pirouettes. There's a couple of good options there to sort of stall, remove, stun, that sort of thing. Keep themselves in a safe spot. And we're hopping in. Let's see.
Back. Even
We've
more
saw the
removals,
combat
Scorched
cook being
Earth.
played.
Yep,
Right?
it's back. Okay, not much has happened. Us, Leonora and Fruit. I don't think it can stick on board, but it would count as a lizard. Does me. Invasion of Chaos is in a tricky spot because they can't develop and then play championship.
Yeah, this is the big problem for them. That is actually a huge problem for them because
They
really needed to. They really needed
They
it.
could play Sergeant and then for Demacia.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the line.
Yeah, I expect that to be the. I mean, very confident.
Your invasion, you probably have to just take this.
Bird as a blocker.
I mean, this screams Garen instead.
Yes.
I don't think Garen is good enough. This Garen.
Boards. It would take a lot of resources to take down this Garen.
Oh, Pythos disintegrate, which is fine, right?
It's fine, but that you are investing technically. I'm going to say 1.5 cards because you get the Perilous Pastry in hand. Yeah, Cammy's looking very good. Got those portals going. With that bomb exploding, creates board space for another unit. And Portal loses nuts here.
Yeah, I think Cammy's in super safe spot here, right? Champion strength can't be played this turn. Garen isn't threatening at all, really. Like, this buff doesn't mean anything. You just block. You got Nora, you got Portal Palooza, you just refill your board. You're kind of fine.
Invasion of Chaos is never swinging with a Nora group either because it's so powerful. So you can just trade your cook off with Vanguard Sergeant and block one of the cats with your junk construct, which just even further progresses Nora.
Don't mind this, yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Didn't need to necessarily commit these yet. You could have waited for an attack, but
why not?
Fine.
No. I don't see how being in combat would have changed much of that.
It's. I mean, I don't think you needed to commit the Scorched Earth. That's the only thing. I think you're quite safe if you're on Cammy's side.
What's so great for Cammy here is this: the wrench has been forged and can now go straight onto Nora, meaning it's a 4-attack elusive unit. Those portals come out and level her. It's going to be 5 attack. That's a really solid pull. Getting that. I can't remember the name because it's never played. The 3/4.
Yeah, the one that moves.
Progresses landmarks by 3 or whatever.
Yeah. And right now, Invasion of Chaos really needs to try. I mean, you're surviving. You're most likely surviving this time if you're Invasion of Chaos. But what you really want to do, I don't know if I like.
Oh. Okay. Oh, but so Cammy basically is saying, I know what you're planning. Your only win here is by using champion strength, and I have this perilous pastry in hand. So I'm just removing as much as from your board. Puff Cat Puff.
Probably Puff Cat Puff. It's just a 2/2.
Yeah. With quick attack as well. Very nice. Okay,
I don't know if you go for the drag. I don't necessarily agree because fruit can be removed here.
If you play the dragon. Okay.
Wait,
so
not removing
fruit here means Invasion of Chaos can drop Wounded White Flame. And
I
then
think I know what's
Strength
happening.
next turn.
So Cammy is worried some of these 2-drops are Nico.
Oh, that makes a lot.
It's just trying to remove anything that could be a Nico.
Portal, only one portal coming out. That actually is pretty good as Invasion of Chaos is about to champion strength, you'll be able to take out
Omen Hawk is
Dragon.
huge.
Omen Hawk is just a 0 cost unit.
I think you're brood maining here.
Very likely broad main plus punch out. Great. Prize fight even. Don't know where punch out came from. But yes, it would mean. Yeah. Oh, actually. Yeah. I was just thinking, would Cammy prefer to just block first? Oh wow!
Oh, that is.
These units are getting scalped.
Yeah, that might have been a huge potential issue for Cammy there.
So Cammy will block 2 with this Baron.
Yeah, but everything else just dies.
Everything dies. I don't think Cammy will have to invest the Nico.
You can use Prize Fight.
Sorry, not the Nico, the
You
Nora.
can use Prize Fight here to remove 1 as well.
Because it leaves them on 1 HP.
Yeah, but then the trade, right?
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant as the spell was going. Definitely can do that. So you can block.
You can Prize Fight
with Prize Fight.
Yeah.
A lot of damage, but it's not sure. Cammy just sweating.
Survives. Yeah, no, Cammy survives this turn, right? You Prize Fight and then you have 3 more blockers for the next attack.
Yes, definitely do.
Survive on 2.
Really hoping this deck cleaner or the deck cat even wasn't a Nico in disguise.
Oh, wait. They didn't use Prize Fight.
It doesn't.
Doesn't matter that much, but you would have kept. You would have kept Nora alive, right? Yeah, you would have kept Nora alive if you just done.
Oh wait, no. Cammy's banking mana for double decimate.
Okay, that works too.
That's lethal. That's. So Cammy actually, yeah, Cammy's playing for the long game.
I mean, Nora plus decimate would have done the same thing, but yeah.
You're not wrong. Especially with Sharpside not being in the not being in standard anymore. As Cammy just gonna slam the axe into. No, show us the animation before you surrender. Cammy,
the only way to play decimate in standard.
Yeah.
The only way. We missed it in standard. Yeah. You can just play. You can play Captain Farron.
I don't like aggro, so I hate decimate. I was over the moon when it got rotated. But as so, we've seen this Nora be incredibly successful. I'd say they basically Cammy perfectly pulled all the cards that were necessary, needed to win, and now it's locked.
Yeah, I mean, in general, that's what I was expecting to happen, which is why we were considering the ban to be on most likely this or the Alawi Swain, right?
Cammy with the opener, double pirouette could be interesting into no actual weapon master or Invasion of Chaos right now. So all these forging units. Weapon master.
Yeah, I mean, this 1-drop is probably one of my the Weaponsmith's Apprentice is probably one of my most hated cards whenever I play this matchup, because the second they get that on the board, I usually just remove it with no prejudice. Just kill it with fire.
Weaponsmith Apprentice into Jax, and then Jax swinging on 2 is just such a crazy play. Oh,
still no weapons.
Still no weapon, which means you won't get the draw off of Entrancing Lure. You can't get the free strike off of.
You probably just attack with the 2/3 here, right?
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah. It's free 2 damage because you just don't block with the 10. Blocking Alawi on.
And you're not scared of any fish fights either because you get priority with the Alawi. So there's no like weapon being played then fish fight because of the turn ordering. Yep, super fine here if you're Cammy.
Cammy really ahead of tempo.
There's a consideration. No, you just pass. I was like, there's a consideration to disintegrate something, but that disintegrate is exclusively going to be for Ornn.
Oh yeah, 100%. Is you need a spell or damage that does more than 1 because Ornn is tough.
There it is. There is a Weaponsmith.
A Weaponsmith, but right now I'm thinking, do you have to fish fight that tentacle?
You just play it. It's huge, right?
Oh, Pot of Pain actually gives you
Fisher Whack. No, it's Fisher Whack every day. You just remove Lowy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just get to remove a Lowy in the attack. It's huge. And the overwhelm's your biggest win con. Yeah, look, it's 6-4. But obviously, you can see a pirouette coming here from Cammy quite easily.
Oh, yeah. Very surprised if Cammy does pirouette here. Only threat towards allowing.
Or just parlay disintegrate.
I mean, yeah, but I don't love it. You're using your only disintegrate right now, even though Broadmain is a pseudo.
Yeah, I like this. This keeps your Lowy alive, allows you to swing in.
So, Invasion of Chaos luckily does have that fish fight next turn. Cammy doesn't have an answer to it. So the Alawi will most likely fall turn, and then you'll be able to re-equip that Fisher Whack and heal your next.
Don't think the healing's going to be too relevant. I'm not sure how I feel about the Forge.
So it's to block the buffed up tentacle. Alawi will spawn one.
But they don't need to attack with it.
No, not at all.
I guess it's like preemptively stopping the tentacle attacking, so I guess that's good, but you lose the Forge on an actual weapon.
Yeah, and I know you said you don't think that you technically are missing out on one healing from the 3 heals on equip and on. So, Cammy, swinging with the 6-6. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I'm not surprised by that at all, actually.
There's a consideration to block with the damage too, but I don't think it matters.
Oh, no. Especially as you might be using that to just push face damage anyway. That tentacle slam could do a lot of work.
They're probably going to go for the entrancing lure here, pull Lowy instead of fish fight.
Get a good draw off as well. Might find a very nice answer. Combat Cook.
Yeah, this is a fantastic attack here from Chaos. Gets a draw, gets the combat, gets another improviser's turn. We're looking to set up that order on 7.
And having both these 3 drops just mean Invasion's Nexus HP will be so healthy. Healing 2 every turn. Wow, just slamming Cammy with these overwhelm.
Yeah, Cammy playing, has been actually playing, one thing, no, Cammy's been playing absolutely fantastic today.
Oh, yeah. Very deserving of being in this final. Up in it. As the Alawi is falling, Cammy will be able to hold out that main and that removal.
Broadbane's going to have to put in the work. The problem here, though, Cammy has, is they cannot just slam Swain. Yeah, Swain being slammed is a bit risky.
What's very important as well is Cammy has an answer to Orn, right? That disintegrate. But like I said earlier, Orn is tough. Which means he's getting the attack off, getting the forge off. If you then remove Orn, you've got a massively forged overwhelm weapon.
I think it's Shepherd's Authority. I mean, Pot of Pain's not the worst option.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
You're not necessarily blocking with these
Cammy
units.
doesn't really have a board you need to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Or
will have a board that you need to, because mostly at this point they're playing tentacles. Yep, go linear up, not wide, and then quite expensive champion. 7 drop. Chaos here, sitting very happily with that fish fight. Swain or fast speed.
I mean, you can just remove the 6 to and then Broadbane survives.
You can re-equip the weapon.
And then Cammy can respond with disintegrate. Parlay. Depends what's equipped as well.
Yeah.
If you equip the 2, if you equip the 2/2 that's damaged already, parlay.
Yeah, obviously you're not doing that. Yep, I like Combat Cook here. There's always upside break. I don't think you're getting any value out of the fearsome.
Yeah, you just want the scout on. Oh, goes for the fearsome.
Not Chaos disagreeing. If Cammy doesn't remove this, Broadmain could be dead. Of course, the issue for Invasion of Chaos right now is if you play the Ornn without that Fisher Whack being attached to a unit on board, you're going to copy the Fearsome weapon because Ornn checks for any weapons on board first, and then if there's no weapons on board, he goes hand. Biggest forged weapon is hand.
Yeah, this is tough because if you're Invasion, you kind of have to go with the fish hook right now, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is. I think you had to, yeah. And
yeah,
they're gonna get rewarded because we obviously know Cammy's hand. There's no actual stopping of this.
But there's no fast speed answer to the 3 mana from Cammy because you have to use 2 spells.
Yep, exactly.
And you just don't have that at fast speed in this.
Pythos is right. No, they're not running Pythos. Make it rain plus. I don't know.
No, there's nothing. The only 1 cost spell is Parlay. So, and you can't use that reaction rate.
Yeah, Cammy was just banking that there wasn't fish fight, right? With that, with
basically.
That line.
I think that's all you could do there. So, Ornn, if he drops here, will get the Pot of Pain, which is not ideal. But I think Invasion just goes wide.
I don't mind going wide here. Actually, wide is...
Anchor does destroy equipment.
Yeah, the heavy metal.
Heavy metal will destroy equipment, which is very important if Invasion of Chaos tries to that Fisher Whack.
I mean, if one gets played, it's just heavy metal, remove the weapon plus disintegrate, which is just actually
That's
brutal.
a very fair point. Cammy has finally found 2 damage a spell.
And it removes the forged weapon, which is huge. This is actually a really tough turn for Chaos. Because they can go, they have the option of obviously going all in or going wider. If they go wider, they're still at the mercy of Cammy having a few different cards for removal here. As we can see, there's Pirouette, there's Heavy Metal. Still options here for Cammy.
I wouldn't mind Invasion of Chaos actually just dropping the combat hook as well and just going for a unit going wide.
So now that a card's been played by Chaos, I think you're actually okay slamming Swain. You get a flock available too.
You're getting a 2/2.
It depends where these weapons go.
Yeah, very true. I think you're always putting your weapons on damage units, knowing that you're into it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Pirouette's coming out. There's Disintegrate.
Yeah, now that Disintegrate's gone, Ornn is actually a little bit safer. I can't remember how many were in. Yeah, no, not this turn, but safer on the following attack. You're not dying. Cammy's most likely not killing you on the following attack, right?
Oh no, there's no way. Swain's not leveled yet.
Yeah.
I think Swain still needs. Pretty sure it's 6 or 4 to progress. In my count, because he hasn't been spamming many spells.
Invasion of Chaos probably just wants to play all 3 weapons. Or 2 weapons, potentially.
Oh, that would be interesting, yeah.
Just attack, right? Just play 2 weapons and go wide.
Yeah, force the tentacle to block.
But obviously we see in hand heavy metal, which will deal with one of them. And remove the unit, which is really painful here for Chaos. This is such a tough turn for both players.
Fortunately,
the Overwhelm's probably the best option to heavy metal as well, by the way.
Oh, 100%, because it's been forged twice. So, Pot of Pain and... Oh, this is testing me. The Fearsome weapon.
Yeah, I just call it the Fearsome weapon. Most people understand that.
Fortunately for Invasion of Chaos, doesn't have the 1 mana both equipments.
Yeah, the only actual issue...
Pot of Pain, the Apprentice it. Guarantee that.
Well, it's one issue actually Cammy has right now is no answer for Ornn anymore.
He has 2 draws until Ornn is
has 2 attacks as well until Ornn is a threat because Ornn isn't leveled yet. So has time to find that, but there's the option, obviously, that of not finding it. I mean, if they get Leviathan and then Swain set up, they're fine as well.
I don't love attacking. I think it's the Desert Amulet weapon here because you're missing out from the one impact. Because you know the tentacle is always blocking the higher attack unit.
Yeah,
heavy metal,
huge. Yeah, it's
could
huge.
be very important. I think Vision of Chaos has enough weapons in hand that Ornn doesn't really mind.
I think you're playing Ornn here.
I think you're always playing Ornn because you have a fearsome. Actually, Swain is overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the combat kit's pretty good here too. Or just equipping a weapon's honestly fine too.
Combat cook will get instantly removed. The heavy metal, definitely for
Upcycle Drake, probably.
It doesn't matter. It's getting destroyed.
I mean, there's a potential it doesn't. Going for the quick attack, okay.
Feeling about 5 this game. Nexus. It'll be very important when the Swain's just barreling down. And remember,
I was going to say they went for the quick attack, by the way, because they need to block Swain.
Yeah, but I just want to add that Cammy, if you heavy metal and remove Invasion of Chaos, is most times playing Ornn next. You can parley to face and stun the Ornn.
Yeah, I think Cammy's okay right now.
Oh,
I don't mind this.
Oh, Overwhelm, so you have Flock in hand, yeah.
Chaos has to equip the Pot of Pain onto the 3-1.
Yes. But even then, Cammy has perfect setup. It will heal.
It
will heal because it didn't fall below its original HP.
Now you can. I mean, this is going to be a board wipe, right? With the Swain attacking?
It's going to be a board wipe. Cammy doesn't need to invest the Flock here, but because they did parlay, they now don't have a stun for the Ornn open.
So they can play Pot of Pain on 3-1 to technically survive the Swain Overwhelm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
you kind of have. I don't know. That loses to the single lock.
Unfortunately, Invasion of Chaos. They had the one card.
They were trying to keep the Overwhelm alive for the opening attack, and the one Flock punish came out here from Cammy, which is super unfortunate. I don't mind that line from Chaos. It's obviously we have the vision to see that's the case, but from From Invasion of Chaos's point of view, they're going, the only punish would have been a second Swain, right? And there's one card. So the odds are really low.
Really low, yeah.
And that's huge as well.
So you can equip the Ornn with the quick attack still from hand.
I think you do,
You have
right?
another Vixen. And this has to be blocked because Ornn will forge twice.
Yep. So it's still not over.
Not over.
It's not over yet. I mean, Cammy had sort of the perfect couple of options, and the third heavy metal was huge. But again, they used so much removal on other stuff that Ornn is now safely leveled on the board.
Safely leveled outside of a scorched
draw. Okay.
Eye is huge here, drawing 2. Could find one of those scorched earths that we were talking about earlier. Riptide Rex can't be used this turn, but actually no, Invasion of Chaos. Oh, never mind. So I was going to say Invasion of Chaos might not block because, right? Even then, Riptide Rex will just, it doesn't matter because all.
This is actually such a 5-head play from Cammy. Just basically checking for disintegrate. Just bluffing disintegrate. I love that. Just hoping Invasion of Chaos doesn't play into this. I mean, that was a potentially huge mistake from Chaos to block that, by the way.
Yeah. So we're just dropping Rex here because we have to. We can equip and forge. 2-3. And
I love that line though from Cammy. I'd love trying to go for that line and bluffing.
Oh, I respect it wholeheartedly.
I think Evasion shouldn't have blocked it as well, by the way. I think that was a mistake.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And we're going once again today to game 3 in finals time round. And wow, you can really see the thinking that's going on into these matches is ridiculous. You like in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, you can notice how much longer the game time is, just because the decisions have so much more impact.
Yeah, and thinking about that key turn there with that block, with the bluff on the disintegrate. I believe there's only one Riptide in the deck and multiple disintegrates. So in theory, you should be playing more around the disintegrates than the Riptide, right? But you've seen one disintegrate be played. So it's pretty 50-50 actually.
Yeah, honestly. I respect it nonetheless. Invasion of Chaos once again on this Garen deck finds fruit early, which is very nice. Cammy, removal, but if you keep that deck hand, it will that vulnerable would.
I think you open attack here with the Spiderling.
Oh, 100%.
I think it's far better than developing the 1/3 cat, purely because
you don't need to attack with it yet.
Yeah, there's also the consideration to just not play. By the way, the 1/3, yeah, the 1/3, just because you've got fruit coming next turn, and you banking 2 here, you save an extra mana from the discount.
I think Invasion of Chaos is going for that very early Tri-Tail. I think that's why they're playing now.
And these are actually pretty rough options. Really want just cheap.
Great.
You just want cheap stuff.
Saurian is very good because it draws a subtype. Blade and also buffs up that unit. So we're gonna see fruit come out here, and then I wouldn't be surprised if once we make it rain for Cammy, because otherwise your Tri-Tail is getting 6 attack and can deal with allowing.
Yeah, but you don't actually have an answer to fruit, right? Make it rain is just not enough.
No, but you can try and slap the spider, so the Tri-Tail goes to 5/4 instead of 6.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, but you
obviously the 1 drop off the top. Well, Cammy doesn't know.
This is Cammy's hand is just a board full of units, which is actually not really what you want.
No, not at all. Very expensive units as well. We're looking at Swain, we're looking at Broadmane, Riptide
the option
Rex.
Is +1/+1 is pretty big too.
I think you actually push for damage here, an air thing. Force out early removal spells onto Tri-Tail.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to see what the line for the next couple of turns are. Yeah, it's 7/6.
Disgusting, man.
In this matchup though, it's actually not.
It's not the worst. Cammy hasn't drawn for it, but it's not the worst.
In this matchup, you'd expect it just to get instantly removed, but we can see obviously Cammy has not drawn a single option there. So Invasion of Chaos next turn has to float 3.
Yes. What's interesting, some people might not know this, is Anura and Fruit look at other units and then decide the discount. They don't consider themselves, which means reptiles also get discounted if you don't have another reptile on board, which means Anura and Fruit, the second one you get for a 1/3 off.
Yeah, which is huge in this, because then you can play that plus potentially another 1 drop, or in this case a 0 drop. So you can play your Fruit here, play Grandfather Fae. Yeah, that's the line this time. And then you have champion strength follow up the following turn.
Oh my god, is Invasion of Chaos just gonna run over Cammy on turn 6? Seen plenty of Demacia decks do this. Your power. Champion strength finisher here. I feel like Invasion of Chaos just assumes Cammy doesn't have heavy metal, so I'm unsure about dropping Grand.
thought you just dropped fruit and pass, right?
Yeah.
You can still just pass here. But then you're forced to playing Fae, right?
I'm expecting Cammy to attack and then the tentacle will challenge the tail. Oh, okay. These voices.
Yeah, because then the tentacle stays alive, right?
Yes, it does. I feel like keeping the 3 good with extra spawn proc. That one.
I think if you're on invasion, you're just hitting pass here. And then champion strength. Oh, I don't. Yeah, I guess.
I don't love it, but But do you really care about that 2 damage to face? I don't think.
No, you're trying to play around Make It Rains and other one cost pings, which would allow you to survive a bit long, have a 1 unit wider board for the champion strength. Because what we're going to see now is slam champion strength, and then Cammy's going to have to Make It Rain 2 of them.
Yeah,
2 1 HP.
This is going to have to be the best Make It Rain ever.
Hits one. That's okay actually, but is that enough to survive? I don't think so.
I don't think it is.
So you can broadmain.
You have broadmain.
That removes 1, but I don't. Again,
broadmain plus parlay after the scout attack.
Yeah.
Oh, that perfect parlay right there. Waiting. Alawi can block one of these 5/5s.
I don't know. Is it even enough? You're losing your whole board.
You're not. Your Alawi is still alive, and you can take fun. Oh, actually no, because they'll just attacking.
You have to block with the broadmain on the next attack.
Use broadmain to kill Owlcat.
You can't do that because of the spell shield. You have to remove fruit.
No. You block with Owlcat. Will have 3
oh yeah. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
So.
I don't think it matters.
I feel like that's a worse block.
I don't think it makes a difference.
It does, because Owlcat will have... It's... Yeah, if you're planning on removing the fruit.
You have to remove the fruit.
Yeah. Parlay out.
You also have a pretty good indication, obviously, that there's most likely not an eco amongst these units. Oh, yeah, that's always a consideration.
Yeah. Nico isn't leveled.
This way you get to remove 2 units. Yeah.
But
the problem is, how do you claw back if you're Cammy here, right? You can play Swain.
You have to eye and then get...
Has Swain leveled? That's the next question. I don't think so, right?
Yeah, but Swain leveled, you have no other spells to use.
You don't need to. You just attack. You just attack with Swain, right?
No. But if you just drop Swain here, oh right, overwhelm. I always forget.
Yeah, he's not leveled. He's not leveled though, so that's yeah, which makes the other line far stronger. The problem obviously here is
you can play Nico as a shapeshifter, and she'll level.
Do you risk that into heavy metal?
I feel like heavy metal would have played this turn, so it would have had to be in the last 2. Dead, just fight a ball.
I don't mind going wide to get another 7. Yeah, and you get another tri-tail for 7/6. You can block here. You kind of can't take 6. This softens up the unit, so the scorched earth is possible. And you probably just play trusty ramhound here. This is such a close match, man. This is such a close game.
I think.
Oh
no, the ramhound is done. Oh, but second Swain drawn. That's going to be very important. That kills the Saurian.
So you probably go Nico into Tri-Tail.
Yeah,
you try disguise Nico with something in your deck.
No, you group into Tri-Tail.
Yeah, you're assuming Cammy removes something by doing that line, right?
Yeah, but they lose otherwise. Maybe just baiting out all that removal onto the... Cammy currently doesn't have an answer. We'll have to fish for something with the draw from Eye of Nagakaboris. It has to be a Disintegrate plus other damage. Heavy metal's there. Heavy metal plus flock will kill Tri-Tail. You have to develop Nico. Chaos. Or even Fruip into one removal come out. Cammy will only have 2 mana left.
Yep, I think you just go Fruip, Nico.
Unless Cammy is holding onto that flock for the attack, would make a lot of sense. Then it dies to form up. So Cammy loses to form up even. Or Spellslinger though. Doing a ton of work.
Yeah, just remove.
Nico disguises as Spellslinger.
I mean, it's super obvious that's the Nico, right? But you get the
Spiders have an attack chat. Spiders have an attack chat as well, so it's progressing her level up.
It's just a 2-for-1, right? Even if they remove Nico, you've tapped out Swain. You've stunned Swain here. You just go wider, and you get enough damage to win here. Invasion of Chaos might just have sealed it here.
I think
that's it.
All they have to do is not click spacebar and pass. A massive swing coming in through Invasion of Chaos. The Nico will level up buffing the whole board, but it doesn't even matter. It's too damn wide as Invasion of Chaos. Saying the final how do you do's, as they will take the finals. They will take the tournament 2-1 over Cammy. Victory screen pops up. And wow, that was a fun series.
Yeah, congratulations to Invasion of Chaos there. Such a fantastic final series to end this tournament on, and they will be taking home the prize pot, a portion of the prize pot, I believe, of the $100 home with them today. Cammy, again, congratulations, played fantastically this entire tournament. Unfortunately, heart of the cards, while you did have it with the heavy metals, was still not enough.
I thought maybe there was a glimmer of hope when the Eye of Nagekabora. And frankly, it drew pretty damn well, but yeah, just the power of... And those 12-1 drops that we talked about, paying their dividends.
Yeah, fantastic play overall today. Super happy. First tournament of the new expansion as well. Rory, how have you been finding this new expansion?
So, I'm going to be honest, I've played nothing but Poro because I love Poros. So, I've actually been finding quite decent success on it. So I've been having a lot of fun. A lot of hustle. That is how it is. And yeah, apart from that, I did craft a Red Gwen deck with Captain Cowrix, which I was having a lot of fun on.
The Rico special.
The Rico special, yeah. Just basically crying about days of old with our Katarina. I'm sure when we're back in Eternal Season, Captain Cowrix will rear his ugly head in that.
Yeah, most likely. And just to say, before we do head off in just a moment, shout out to Marshall, shout out to Aegis for putting on a fantastic tournament for here today. It's been a pleasure here casting for all of you guys today, bring you guys some of this top cut action.
Yeah, it's been a great time. And check out the LoRreport if you don't follow them on Twitter. What are you doing? Where are you getting your news from otherwise? We've had a great time. I hope you all have a wonderful day.